Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL. It's Wednesday night. It's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. Plenty of names looking to try and unleash the best possible points positions for themselves. We'll have to wait and see who will come out on top tonight. Plenty in the offing, though. Do not miss a tick, and we're going to make sure you don't. I've got to say, folks, buzzing for this. As I said, my name, George Morgan. Alongside me is the one, the only Jack Canan. Jack, we're back at Spain. A very mishmash grid, I think, in some ways, but nevertheless, the talent is still there.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we had, 20 absences? Poor old Connor's had to deal with, but he still managed to pull this great grid together.
Our great and powerful leader, as always.
Yes, all hail. But we have, of course, the heavy hitters for the championship are here. Obviously, if you missed the last round, Thomas Ronnar finally broke his win duct. He's now a PSGL PC Tier 1 winner, and he now leads the championship by just 8 points. Still very close at the top with Jake Benham in P2, and Barry Borman still in it now, but we have quite a little close gap there. We got Barry Borman, Luke Smith, and Jarno Watmere all within about a point of each other, but they're a full race win behind the championship lead now, so lots of work for them to do. But in the meantime, in the week that we've had off, I mean, how many moves did we see in the esports world?
Wow, yes. It certainly has turned up the heat slightly. I mean, obviously, we've seen lately the big news. Obviously, we're hearing the likes of Nicholas Longuet and not to mention Barry Burman jumping ship on what looks to be a very formidable-looking Ferrari team, Jack Canan.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe this Ferrari team, this is the first time they're going to be seen racing here in PSGL. The first time they've been out in public, so to say. So if you've missed it, you may be a little surprised to see who's in that Ferrari seat as well. And of course, a new Aston Martin team lineup as well that's making their debut this evening as well. So plenty to keep your eyes on tonight as well. But it's been a little while since we've been to Spain. I feel like it's been a long time since we've had a Spanish Grand Prix. We've
always had good ones, though. I think historically, when it's come to league racing, Spain is actually a brilliant track. There are some great overtaking opportunities, generally down the main straight and towards turn one. There's also opportunities down through Seat Curve. I think, obviously, when it comes down to overtakes, I think we'll see a lot more of it around towards the end of the race, generally. Obviously, you get a lot of drivers who tend to start in the opening few laps who will jump for positions, and there will be a lot of fighting through that period. But then in the latter stint, obviously the stint after the pit stop phase, I think that's when we'll see it really heat up. And I think the battle for the lead is going to be brilliant too.
Yeah, as it is. And we are now starting, finally, Q1 is about to get underway here at Spain, and we have plenty of debutants as well in the fray for PC Tier 1 as well. A couple of drivers filling in at different teams today, but championship heavy hitters Thomas Ronnar, he's here on the grid as always. Jake Benham in P2, and no, you were not reading that wrong. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen those little red marks next to Barry Borman, freshly announced at Ferrari, alongside Nicholas Longuet, who joins us in P. And it's been a while since we've had Longuet on the grid, but in his new colours, George. Ferrari this time for Longuet.
Yeah, it's intriguing, really, and it's quite weird, I'll have you know. But I think it's strange because we got the likes of Barry now moving from McLaren to Ferrari, long-term rivals, of course, for many, many years in the world of Formula One, and now even in F1 esports, obviously, with the great talents moving around. Barry Burman, arguably as well, one of the better contenders in F1 esports last season. It's a real big name for McLaren to let go. I know he didn't win the title, but you've got to think he, as well as many others, well, should we say 4 in total, random, 4 into the final event, had a chance of taking that title. Barry was one of them. McLaren had the only team to have both their drivers fighting for last year's championship in F1 esports. I feel like it's a big loss for McLaren, Jack.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see. Obviously, Ferrari have ambitions. I mean, bringing Barry Borman and Nicholas Longuet together, incredibly quick team and incredibly experienced. I think that's something that they might need heading forward into this one as well. But there's been so much happening. We had Brendan Lee is now R8G. If you missed that as well, he's moved across to R8G Esports as well. So try and put two and two together, if you will. And the news that just broke today as well, Danny Berezne is leaving Alfa Romeo, and you have to wonder, where is he going now?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's lots of rumours spilling around over the management of Alfa Romeo. Obviously, nothing confirmed yet, but we're hearing lots of little whispers throughout the entirety of Twitter and social media, as you would do. And obviously, the drivers themselves, that does make you wonder where those movements are coming from or where they're going to be made. Naturally, Berezne leaving, that is quite a hefty move. I mean, he has been virtually at every single team on this grid, so it'll be interesting to see where Berezne goes. I mean, it goes without saying, I believe he will be contesting on next year's game. I believe he did confirm that he will be racing on the next game, certainly in the world of F1 esports as well. But the big question is, where is he going? And we'll have to obviously wait and see. But nevertheless, it has been a sensational period for F1 esports. We've seen it time and time again. And the one thing that has stayed the same, though, is that of the Mercedes. As now we're seeing Buildup now making his way into the gravel trap. Had a serious moment there on the intermediate tyres, but back on track nonetheless. Obviously, the intermediates playing their usual pivotal role at the start of Q1, and Philip Presneda goes fastest of them the first time on the board, 121.299. Any major shocks from your standpoint, Jack, in terms of the transfers that we've seen?
I think probably the biggest one was I think Brendan Lee switched to R8G. I think that was a little bit unexpected.
Quite left field, wasn't it?
It's quite left field. It's definitely an interesting move for Brendan Lee, as like Ferrari to R8G. He hasn't quite said where he's going yet, but I mean, you've got to look Haas potentially for Brendan Lee across the Haas under the R8G management. You've got to as well thinking about some free seats maybe. There's a seat at McLaren, so who's going to get that McLaren seat?
Yeah, well, that is a mystery. And like I say, it's a big seat to fill, because Barry filled a very vital role out to support Lucas Blakely's title charge. While he himself might not have necessarily come out on top, Barry still played a peripheral part in making that championship happen for Lucas Blakely. Not just that as well, though, the team's championship, which is the all-important one. That's where the money is made for the teams. So it's a big move for McLaren not being able to hold on, to a personality like Barry Burrowman, who obviously is going to bring you the greatest results as well. One of the most naturally talented individuals on this game as well. And it does strike me as bizarre, but you could see it from Barry's point of view. Maybe he feels that McLaren placed a lot of stock into Lucas Blakely, and I think he wants to be that main man.
I think so. It gives off a little bit of sort of Red Bull vibes,
yes,
doesn't it?
Ricardo,
a little bit, Ricardo Verstappen type energy,
yeah, absolutely.
And from that regard, you can sort of understand maybe Barry felt that he was always going to play second fiddle.
Yeah.
And now, Ferrari, maybe he was given the promise of being the first driver, but who knows? That's going to be quite difficult alongside Nicholas Longe, I'll tell you that, to play first fiddle to that. But it is interesting. Politics do exist, ladies and gentlemen, in F1 esports, and it's exactly the same in that regard. So it's very interesting to keep our eyes on. And believe it or not, as we hear a lot of whispers that are going on in the F1 esports world. The moves aren't done yet. Let's just say that.
Plenty more to come. Absolutely, there's loads more to come out. And obviously, there's still the big mystery about Alfa Romeo, what's happening there. Not to mention what's happening with Haas as well. Because obviously, if R8G are taking on Brendan Lee, then that means obviously there's some voids to fill elsewhere. And there's going to be lots of moving around. Obviously, we know that R8G look after the affairs of Haas. But, what happens with Alfa Romeo? I mean, that is the big question mark. Plenty of drivers announcing that they're leaving Alfa, but none to suggest yet that they're joining. Big question mark, but we will wait and see. Obviously, we can't forget the likes of Jarno Opmeer as well, obviously contending with the likes of Barry Burrowman. Jack, we've commentated on that phenomenal story, because back in the day when we were commentating for another league not too long ago, well, I say not too long ago, a couple of years ago now, in fact, maybe more
2
than
years.
3 years ago. We saw the battle between Jarno Opmeer and Barry Burrowman pretty much on a weekly basis. I mean, it was box office, and it still remains box office to this day. It's amazing to think now that is 2 to 3 game cycles ago when that started. And it just goes to show how great these drivers are. The fact they can be continuously great, and the battles can be still immeasurably close. And we're still, now we're on an updated game, and we got F1 23 just around the corner. It's just so timeless what these drivers are able to pull off.
Yeah, and you know, you've got guys who've been up at the top level since F1 2017, and they're still competing at that top level. So it is great to see, and hopefully that rivalry continues as well. While we're on the subject, of course, with F1 Esports, there's a lot of sort of rumors around Red Bull. There's been sort of cryptic sort of tweets from Marcel Kiefer in the past month or so, sorts of hinting a potential move for Marcel, and a free Red Bull seat would be a very interesting marker in the driver market, so to speak. It's sort of a team that's been, you know, the same for a long time.
It has,
and
yes.
you know, is it time for a change at Red Bull?
The combination of obviously Kiefer and Rasmussen, and you know what, Red Bull, I mean, I think the reason why they've been skeptical to change it, Jack, is because you've got to remember Red Bull were multi-time champions as teams. And it's only just recently, the first time that we've seen, obviously, Red Bull be removed from that spot is now this season with McLaren. So maybe they feel they need to get with the times. Who knows? I mean, obviously, there's big changes in the wins. It wasn't exactly Kiefer's strongest period in F1 Esports when, of course, he went racing with Red Bull last season. The results obviously not impressing as perhaps he would have liked. But I mean, maybe there's some inter-team stuff happening. You know, does Kiefer get dropped down to AlphaTauri? I mean, who knows? We've seen Ido get, obviously in talks of getting moved up to Red Bull. That was a hot topic of conversation at the end of last season. So, you know, that could be a natural switch.
Certainly could be as well. And we had, as well, Joni Tormela was also a similar benefactor of that in a way. He was the third driver for Red Bull a couple of seasons ago, and then became full-time at AlphaTauri. So maybe you could see something like that happening, and sort of giving somebody a chance to move up into the roster. And if you're going to promote anyone, it's got to be Ido, hasn't it? I mean, the performances he's put on. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on in a full-time Red Bull seat. But 8 minutes after Q1, absolutely nothing happened for a solid 4 minutes there, so that they've finally come out onto the track, which is fantastic. So we now have something to look at and some times to set on the board. Now, a man that we have neglected to mention so far, George, the man in P9, in his new colours for the first time, Fabrizio Donoso. Yeah,
Donoso joining Aston Martin, confirmed, of course, over the course of this week, and of course steadily being drip-fed out. Of course, last week there were lots of rumours, and I think there was some very suspect graphics being revealed by Aston Martin, which attempted to hide who it was going to be. Unfortunately, it wasn't as well hidden as it might have been made out. A lot of people calling that it was Donoso when they put the question mark graphic up, but nevertheless, great to see him back. Of course, has been a stalwart of F1 Esports since 2017, where he took Brendan Lee all the way to the final round and to the final lap in the World Championship. Brendan Lee coming out on top in that particular affair. But you've got to remember, Donoso led a strong majority of that race too.
Certainly did, and continues to perform, but a different change for Fabrizio in Aston Martin alongside Simon Weigang and Sean Evans and Duncan Hoffland. So an interesting team there, but Fabrizio brings all of that experience since the very beginning and continues to bring. So it'll be interesting to see, because Aston Martin, of course, didn't have a strong season. So get that experience in the car and see what happens after in this next season. It is teeing up to be a really interesting sort of change into F1 2023. We haven't had this many moves in a long time, so it's interesting to see this all this movement as Preschneider goes to the top with 7 minutes to go, and we've got a lot of cars out on track at the moment, so we'll try to keep our eyes on everything that goes on. Tomek Paradzic as well in that 16.5, Max Vissel as well up to the top in 16.4. So times are going to come in very thick and very fast, and we should see how this is going to go. Boulam Farah as well, debut in PC F1. Let's see how he gets on. Yeah, Farah going to the top, 1:16.410, approximately 0.08 of a second faster than Max Vissel. We got more and more times coming through though. Andrei Tarabukin marks his return to the top end. Enis Van Pookie now fastest
of all as well. Look at that, a mere thousandth of a second as Otis Lawrence goes third fastest as well. Pookie, like I said, a whole thousandth separating him and Ferrer. He holds on to first place. 6 minutes to go here in this qualifying session. Still cars on their fast laps, their first fast laps. Jarno Opmeer making his way around seat curve. Wilson Hughes going fourth fastest at this point as well. Lots of times filtering inwards, folks. Incredible scenes here in Q1 already.
And there's 6 1:16.4s to start us off today.
Amazing. Just goes to show, doesn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, this is classic. Well, actually, no, add another one. There's Barry Borman in there as well to give us 7 1:16.4s in his Ferrari this time. But you know, so there's classic Ronar, 3/10 in front of everybody else on his first run. So Ronar up to the top. But I will point out Isfan Pookie, right? Very impressive in Saudi Arabia when he first debuted here in PSGL PCF1 and got himself through the Q3 on his first attempt and scored solid points. So I would keep an eye out there for Isfan Pookie. Jarno Opmeer popping into second right there. But Jake Benham is on his lap as well. But I mean, it's just classic Thomas Ronar, isn't he? He just seems to find time from absolutely nowhere.
He is absolutely sensational, still showing the pace, and the gap between him and Jarno Opmeer stands at a staggering just over 2/10 of a second. In fact, just under 2/10 of a second at this point. As you can see, a 1:16.172, a 1:16.367 for Opmeer, which is extraordinary. Jake Benham now coming up towards the line. Of course, Opmeer's teammate, 10th fastest, but despite being 10th fastest, only a gap of, within 1.5 tenths, which is extraordinary. Jake Benham, 10th fastest, just mere fragments between him and the Flying Dutchman, and yet only enough for 10th. That just goes to show how tight these lap times really are.
Yeah, and the gap to sort of getting dropped out from Ronar down to Philip Preissner is only about half a second. So it's very, very close. Anyone could still get themselves through and get into Q2. And Ronar, that is pure confidence, isn't it? Pure confidence. One lap is all he needed, and he should be through safe into the next part of qualifying. So everyone's sort of down from, I would say, Isfan Pookie down. Would sort of need to go again, because if there's slight improvements, can gain you a lot of positions here. But Marcel Kiefer is currently the first car out. He's only out by 0.02 of a second. Philip Breschneider is the man on the cusp at the moment, 16.60 the current cutoff. But I think that's going to drop very quickly. No representative times on the board from Alexander Kraft, who's also making his debut in PCF1. And Donoso hasn't put together a representative lap as well. Xander Van Dijken as well. He's in P17, also on a 16.6. So a 10th, even just a 10th, will rocket you up at least about 6 places. Yeah,
and that's just a statement really as to the quality behind this PCF1 grid here at PSGL. As now we see Philip Preissner head through now the very fast campus corner. Of course, he's got Lekea Ben now at the bottom here. Of course, not as sharp as what it used to be. Back in the day, of course, we witnessed Lekea Ben as a very, very dogged left-hand hairpin. But has now since been amended, a lot more flowing. And I think it just enables the cars to travel the way they do. Now, that is a big statement from Nicolas Longuet. Not sure the reasoning behind that, but he is on track. Ferrari's retired as well. Interesting scenes here. But nonetheless, now as we see Philip Preissner head through this next stripe, preparing to set sail on his next flying lap, heading down through towards turn 1. Thomas Ronar still holding on to top spot. Otis Lawrence also retiring from the session. I suppose they all saw Longuet do it. They all thought, well, we're above him, so obviously we must be safe.
Yeah, I wonder, is that a little trick from Longuet? Like, I'll retire and everyone else is going to improve and I'll get through and whatever. So it's a little bit of mind games from Nicolas Longuet there. But anyway, they seem to think they're safe, and so Wilson Hughes and everyone else down from there seems to think that they won't be safe. So it's all up to whether everybody else behind can improve. So let's wait and see what happens here. This is going to be a bit of an interesting end to qualifying. So the top 6, apart from Opmeer, have retired, and I don't think, is Opmeer coming out again? I don't think he is. So he's not going to appear out on the circuit right now. So we've got now the last runs of Q1 underway, and we can see now if there are improvements on the board. The first car is Philip Preissner. He wasn't a lap, but has backed out of it and is going to have to go again on a fuel burn here, seems to me. And Fabrizio Donoso, currently on his push lap as well, is already half a second up in the first sector. He needs a big improvement, and you would think it should be easy pickings for Donoso.
Yeah, you would have thought so. He's been here before. He knows exactly how it works. Andrei Tarabukin has also commenced his lap. But I think what we'll do, we'll jump on board with Fabrizio Donoso, who now heads down towards Lakea Bend in the mean green Aston Martin. Of course, a minute left to go here in Q1. Now, this is a very vital part of qualifying now, folks. Obviously, this is the moment where you need to make a statement in order to stay in and obviously in battle your way into Q2, where, of course, there'll be another 15 cars, or certainly the same, 15 cars fighting over top 10 places. But now Donoso, who's not concerned with such matters just yet. First mission, get out of Q1, get off the bottom of the classification. Now that's the way to do it. Second fastest for Fabrizio Donoso. A 16.265 leaps him forward ahead of Jarno Opmeer. Brilliant lap.
Yes, great lap from Donoso. I mean, I don't know where he pulled that out of, but a great job as that we have Jake Benham coming across the line to begin his second push lap. Tarabukin, he goes to second.
Wow.
How about that from Andrei Tarabukin? Great stuff. Jan Halliday as well, popping into P5. And now you're going to, if you're Nicholas Longo, you're starting to sweat a little bit,
Start to regret this.
That is, everybody's improved. Ikerbena as well, he's improved. Knocks Longo down to 11th. Next up to cross the line will be, there's a couple more cars still to come here, so this will be very interesting to watch. Here comes Wilson Hughes in 13th place, improves to 5th. It's getting worse and worse as it comes through now. Here comes Max Wissel. He's on a 16.497. Is he going to improve? He does, up to P7. There's Wissel improving. Can anybody else improve now? Philip Preschneider, he's improved by a 10th. Can he find any more? If he does, he's going to get himself through into Q2. Preschneider goes through P12 for Philip Preschneider. This is going to be very tight. If I'm Nicholas Longo, I'm regretting this decision very hard.
Well, Kiefer has not managed to get out. He, of course, now cemented to 16th place. Alexander Kraft, he could not lift himself off the bottom. 20th fastest. Many more cars still coming through. Don't forget as well, Jake Benham, who I believe is on his final run as well. He's also up in the final sector, a whole 10th of a second, and he needs it as well. Up towards the line here at the end of qualifying. 17th fastest. Benham out of qualifying. He was only barely over 200ths of a second clear from where he was before. Not enough to get out of the bottom 5. Painful lap for Jake Benham.
Well, consider myself wrong. That was incredible decision making from Nicholas Longo. Tell you what, scrapes through, and that was so close. The cutoff point, Jack West on a 16.434. 3 thousandths in front. Marcel Kiefer unable to improve, but that is a shocker. Jake Benham second in the championship, and he's out in Q1. Absolute disaster. Thomas Ronnar goes through at the head of the field. Well, there's some real shockers in there, I have to tell you. Jake Benham, the big name to lose in Q1, second in the championship, and all of his championship rivals making it through. Tomac Paragic as well, also out in Q1, and you have to say Marcel Kiefer, he'll be very disappointed, only 300ths away, but again, this is PSGL, and small margins matter.
They certainly do, Jack. Absolutely wise statement. But you're looking at some of these other names as well. Max Wissel, not to mention Jan Halliday as well. What an incredible lap from him. The McLaren driver partnering Wilson Hughes here today. 5th and 8th, in fact, for both McLarens, which they will be thrilled about. And how about Fabrizio Donoso as well, moving his way up into the top 4. Has certainly not had it all his own way this game cycle. Has been very tricky, obviously managing those secure a seat with the Aston Martin team. Of course, with the likes of John Evans, who of course made his debut last season, as well as Simon Weigand. But have a look at this final results tally. Thomas Ronnar, fastest again. Standard procedure here for the Dutchman. Andrei Tarabukin second. Fabrizio Donoso in third as well. Ikerbena in fourth. Wilson Hughes in fifth. Jarno Opmeer 6th. Max Wissel in 7th with Jan Halliday in 8th. Istvan Pukki sits in 9th spot with Boulen Ferrer in 10th place. Barry Burremand 11th fastest. Philippe Preschneider 12th. Otis Lawrence 13th. Nicholas Longo just barely staying in 14th place. Jack West 15th. We lose Kiefer, Benham, Paragic, Van Dijken and Alexander Kraft, who's at the tail end of the field. But what a way to kick things off. An incredible way to start qualifying. What really stands out to me, Jack, the number of drivers who will likely, I say likely because nothing's confirmed, will be competing in challenges this year towards the top end in terms of pace when it comes to Q1. Great to see. We always like seeing new faces, new names, sort of, you know, putting pressure on the, should we say, the old guard of F1 esports. They're not really that old, to be honest, but still putting the pressure on. And I think that's great for the style of racing we have here at PSGL.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to see these guys challenging up the front end. So, and they are the future of F1 esports, these challengers guys. So we need to see them fighting up the top end, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, I think that could have been one of the closest qualifyings that we've seen so far, because I went through it. There was 11 cars on a 1:16.4. That is amazing. We've never seen that many cars on a 16.4.
No.
So, in that way, nobody was really far off, and Jake Benham by, what was it, a couple of hundredths? If he'd improved even just 2 hundredths more, he'd have been safely through, and that is the close margins. But 11 cars on a one within the same tenth of a second. This is the margins we're talking about here in PSGL. So there is now Q2 underway. Cars coming out straight away to get a run in. Basically everybody except for, that looks like Istvan Pukki has not bothered to come out just yet. So very busy out on the track, and a very short lap around here. So going to be jostling for position. The first car looks like, well, Ronhart, he's going to be the one to get us underway here on the used sets of tyres.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Thomas Ronhart, who's now leading the field out on their out lap. Obviously plenty of cars now, all queuing up. Istvan Pukki, the only one not to leave his pit box, has currently remained inside. So we're just going to have the likes of Thomas Ronhart taking us out for his very first fast lap in Q2. And we'll soon see what sort of time he can enlist. Great to see him as well, back to his prominent best. I'd imagine, though, Jack, there must be a level of disappointment on Ronhart's part, because obviously being so dominant, obviously we've seen it in leagues now time and time again with this young man, didn't quite achieve what he might have wanted in F1 esports itself. I get the feeling that, a title win must have been on your mind. Certainly if you're beating the likes of Jarno Watmir at this point, not to mention the likes of Barry Burman, who went to the obviously the title fight at the end of the season. He, of course, being one of the few, Thomas Ronhart, that was able to challenge Lucas Blakely right through the season, but didn't get the top spot. Does that suggest a disappointing championship for Thomas Ronhart, or just a superb Lucas Blakely championship?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? It's a supreme rookie performance from Thomas Ronhart, but it's also, it takes a hell of a day to beat Thomas Ronhart, and Lucas Blakely, put together a great championship as well. But I don't think Ronhart can be disappointed. It's his rookie season in F1 esports, and he finished in 3rd place. That doesn't happen normally. So it's just going to give him so much confidence heading into the next season as he goes up to the top on a 16.7 on his used sets of tyres. Preschner not too far off, but tell you what, good lap from Philip Preschner and from Max Wissel as well in the Aston Martin. So very, very close indeed. But Thomas Ronhart, he's lining up for F1 23, but there's Donoso up to the top. But it will be interesting to see how he gets on. Of course, we're transitioning over to a new game in the not too distant future, and sometimes that can change the form book.
It certainly can. Plenty can change the form book. A new game, obviously with a new handling model, new certainly features, and a new traction model, I think obviously helps. Obviously we've seen it time and time again. The likes of Brendan Lee, who was perhaps dominant on one rendition of the game, might not necessarily be as quick on a new one. And obviously Jarno Watmir not finding, should we say, this version of the game to his liking, as opposed to maybe where 2021 stacked, because of course that gave him his 2nd World Championship. Couldn't quite get his 3rd, though. Of course, he was in the fight, though, up to the Japanese race that we had in F1 esports after a dazzling display at the United States, and unfortunately wasn't able to carry that over towards the latter part of the season. But he will be back, that's for sure. Never fear, Jarno Watmir fans. There will be a return, and a spin from Barry Burman, heading through on his closing lap. Maybe a little bit of wing damage there, as well as the yellow flags lift up here in Sector 3. And that's less than ideal. Obviously, he's already set his lap, so that's okay. But you don't want those moments creeping in too much, Jack.
No, you don't. It must have been, correct me if I am wrong, of course, I think there is a bump there on the way through where he spun in that corner. It's very easy to unsettle the car through there. So Barry maybe just getting on the throttle a little bit too much over that bump, and away he goes. But he seems to get away mostly unscathed. Maybe just a bit of damaged pride other than that. But in comes Jack West, and then now everybody's in the pit garages right now, and let's see if Istvan Pukki will make an appearance out on the circuit just to give himself some free air. Now everybody is in the pit lanes. One thing about Spain is that it does get very quiet out on track for extended periods of time as driver, because it is such a short lap around here. You don't need to go out too much or too early or too late, or too early, so to speak, in this part. So now it's all quiet. 9 minutes still to go. As Vanpooki's not come out to give us any action here, but at the top right now, Wilson Hughes, currently the man who's up at the top end, and he, of course, we talk about that free McLaren seat. We have to wonder, do McLaren move him up to a full-time seat now?
Well, that has got to be the conversation. I know that's what Wilson wants. I mean, you know, you got to give him that opportunity. I mean, I think he is too much of a talent to ignore. I mean, we know about Wilson Hughes. We've seen him time and time again. He is a PlayStation champion here at PSGL. I mean, I hark back to when we first started the very first PC Championship, Jack. I mean, who was the PlayStation Championship that year? It was Wilson Hughes. He, of course, laid down a brilliant foundation in PlayStation, was the dominant force on that platform, beat a very talented Duncan Hoffland as well, who is also the current reserve driver for Aston Martin, a development driver for Aston Martin as well. We'll no doubt be seeing him in the Pro Championship in the future too. And Wilson Hughes has all the ability, all the potential to be a great driver, and I think this is where we get to see him. I mean, you won't get to see him race other than PSGL, really, to a certain degree. Didn't get his chance as a reserve driver for McLaren, obviously due to the title fight between Barry and Lucas Blakely, and naturally that meant that Wilson Hughes had to play second fiddle, essentially playing a developmental driver role while he was still a third driver in last season's championship. So it's easy to forget that he is still a Pro Series talent. As we know, see Max Wiesel cross the line to commence his second run here in Q2. Without a doubt, he's got to be a name that has to race regularly, Jack. He's got the talent. He's young enough. He's got plenty of time as well to grow. And very much like the likes of Barry Burman. He's fast. He's consistent. He has the ability. I mean, we've seen it here this season. He's pulled off some brilliant top 5 results.
Yeah, it certainly has. And, you know, fighting with Jake Beno as well up at the top end of Mercedes. So, yeah, McLaren, of course, have got to be keeping their eye on Wilson Hughes, and and I think that it'd be a shame for them not to use him in that regard. So let's see. Obviously, PSGL will be an opportunity for Wilson to show what he's capable of. So maybe now, with that free McLaren seat, in a full-time seat, so to say, maybe he's got to be thinking now, I need to up my game here and show what I can do. So he's going to be thinking of that, and he's on good tracks right now on a 16.6 at the top. Of course, that would have been on a used set of tyres. So we're going to get the first real idea now of of the times. He's already nearly 3/10 up on his best time through the middle sector is Wilson Hughes. So we'll have now the first indications of the times in just a few moments time. I think Max Wiesel will be the first to give us that representative time in the Aston Martin. 16.2 for Max Wiesel as he comes across the start finish line, and we'll now have Bullen Fair as well. He pops into second there. We have now Wilson on a 16.1. That's what we need from Wilson Hughes up at the top end there. Otis Lawrence popping into third in his Red Bull. Fabrizio Donoso, there's Donoso up to the top of 16.0. There's the first time in the zeros there for Fabrizio Donoso. On pace today, I have to say. Yeah, absolutely superb from Donoso. Ika Baena now across the line, fourth fastest at this point as well. Barry Burman, Nicholas Longe makes his way across in the Ferrari as well, second fastest for him. Jan Halliday makes his way up into ninth, just moving up a couple of places. It's certainly not safe though, as Philip Presnader goes fourth fastest too. His teammate is Vanpooki, first lap of the session, 7th place, good enough to go through at this stage as well. Jack West up into ninth. Sensational scenes here as more and more cars come through as well. Thomas Ronha sends it to the top and immediately trumps Fabrizio Donoso. A great lap, a 1:16.044. Try and beat that, chaps. Yeah, very close though, isn't it? The gap has closed, and it's Donoso up just behind there. Barry Burman just a couple of thousandths behind Thomas Rana. This is the stuff, and there's Otmir in it as well. Oh, I'm liking the look of this, George. This is looking very tight. I mean, look at the top end, Jack Kinnan. Mere thousandths separating the top three. If you look at it, Barry Burman now 7 thousandths away from Thomas Ronha. Just behind that, another 5 thousandths to Jarno Otmir in third place. Then a smaller, well, I say a small but larger gap
between Fabrizio Donoso and Jarno Opmeer. I'm liking what I'm seeing, Jack. The big guns now at the top end. Ronhaar, Burman, Opmeer, Donoso, Longe. Then you throw Wilson Hughes into the mix. This is what PSGL's all about.
This certainly is. And I tell you what, where on earth has Philip Preschneider come from in this one? He struggled to make it through to Q3 in the past while, and all of a sudden now he's right up in that top 10. So great stuff from Philip Preschneider. Obviously he's put the work in and is up now fighting with Wilson Hughes, with Max Wiesel, all of those guys. So great stuff from Philip Preschneider, of course, a former winner in PSGL. Let's not forget that back in the first season. Great to see him fighting up at the top end here. But currently, cut-off point is Istvan Pukki in P10. Otis Lawrence just half a tenth behind as well. This is still going to be a very close battle here between who's going to get through into Q3. But that top 5 is very spicy.
Yeah, I know you chaps in the live chat are talking about cooking. There is a lot cooking here in this qualifying session here at PSGL, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Thomas Ronhaar at the top, Barry Burman second, Jarno Opmeer in third. Now this is certainly what F1 Esports, certainly what PSGL, what sim racing is all about, and I'm liking it, that's for sure. 3 minutes and 20 left to go in Q2. Already drivers now leaving the pit lane, so very shortly the track will be alive and cooking here once again. So now we're certainly waiting on more drivers to leave. We can just see more and more of them coming out. In fact, Andrei Tarabukin, the very first driver to head out on the final run here in Q2. Let us know in the live chat, folks. Obviously, who are you supporting in today's race? Who are you backing to take the top spot here at Spain? It's a pleasure to have you all with us, of course. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the PlayStation, well, certainly the PSGL, I'm about to say PlayStation Gaming Leagues, it's no longer that. It's Premier Gaming Leagues, folks. PSGL. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Not forgetting as well the social media as well. We have Twitter and Instagram, not to mention TikTok, Premier Sim GL. That's the place to be. A lot of fans there, as standard for Jarno Opmeer. They've all made themselves known. Big warm welcome, everybody, for joining us as well. It's a pleasure to have you guys here with me and Jack Kinnan. Absolutely sensational. We got some as well for Philip Preschneider, not to mention Tarabukin as well. Loads of support across the board, and that's what we like to see.
Certainly is, and we are getting ready for the final runs of Q2. Ronhaar and Burman, they feel that they're safe, and let's see now if we have the rest of them decide to come out. I think Longe is definitely going to come out again, and he does indeed. He's on a 16-1, so he won't feel too secure on that 16-1. He's got a couple of others who are also on a 16-1. Jarno, I think, made up to stay in here. Barry Burman, of course, only a couple of thousandths faster than him, so he should feel that he is safe. And Donoso, he's got a bit of a decision to make. He's on a sort of low 16-0, so does he decide to come out again? But Philip Preschneider then on his final timed lap here, 16.186. Let's see if he can get himself through to Q3. This is one of the best performances from Philip Preschneider we've seen in a while, the strongest performance we've seen in qualifying from him in a little while. 200ths up, so that would rocket him up. If he continues that trend, of course, could rocket him up a couple of positions, see himself through into Q3 safely this time. Getting on the power nicely out of the hairpin. One of the Alpines getting out of his way nicely here. We're keeping an eye on those sector times for Philip Preschneider. Through the left-hander he goes, rising up the hill now. Got to be committed through this section. Feathering the throttle slightly just to get himself through into the next part of the corner, up towards the left-hander now. The changed left-hander, of course, 600ths up now, so he's on a good improvement here. A tenth of a second will bring him right up towards the top end here. We've got with the other AlphaTauri, Istvan Pukki, is well out of the way on the inside of the hairpin. Loose moment for Preschneider through there as he comes now into the final chicane for the last time. Can Preschneider get himself even further up the order here in this part of qualifying? Tarabukin goes into P7. Here comes Preschneider now on his timed lap across the line, and he does not improve his position. He's 0.08 of a second down, so he's now leaving it in the hands of the racing gods.
Yeah, it certainly is. Longe now crosses the line, does not necessarily improve just yet. He's out on his lap now, though. Lots of traffic out here on this circuit. We saw it with Tarabukin's lap. It was slightly interrupted with all the racing around the circuit. There is Ferrer, a little twisty though, heading out of the Bank Zambadel corner. The final chicane is now where he'll look to lay a decent foundation. Get a little squirrely, loses the rear and has to bail into the pit lane. Not a good lap at all. Jack West also coming around the final corner. He currently sits 14th fastest as he crosses the line. 9th fastest, enough to go up, at least for now. Whether he will do is another question altogether. Many other cars coming through. Max Wiesel as well, who is up on his time as of the final sector, coming through the final corner as well here at the Europe car bend. Now coming across the line, fastest of all. What a lap there. Sensational from Max Wiesel. Otis Lawrence goes 9th quickest. They're getting smaller, Jack. These lap times crashing downwards. Seems to be a lot of track evolution at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Was not expecting that from Max Wiesel. Up to the top end for Aston Martin. Great job from him. I don't think we're going to see any more improvements here. I think we've got Istvan Pukki, unfortunately, dropped. There's Longe out of the bag. I said he was not going to see any more improvements, but they're still on a 16-0. There's 6 cars on a 16-0. Nicholas Longe is up at the top end for Ferrari for the first time here in Spain. Now, Istvan Pukki unfortunately dropped it on his lap through the second corner, so he won't improve. Halliday won't improve. So, out of all of that, an incredible Q2, we have Nicholas Longe up the front end, Max Wiesel, Ronar, Bormand, Otmir, Donoso, Hughes, Tarabukin, Otis Lawrence and Philip Preschneider by the tiniest of margins scrapes through into Q3 for the first time this season. Great job from everybody there, but 6 cars on a 16-0.
Incredible scenes here, and we just thought that the first point of Q2 was exciting. Obviously, we saw the time gaps were so close, but again, now all within the same 1/10 of a second, and it is Nicholas Longe who takes top spot. Amazing performance, certainly here towards the end of the session. Could the move from to the Ferrari team be the move he needed? Fastest of all, as we said, Nicholas Longe, 16.019. That was enough to get him top spot. Max Wiesel, what a performance. 2nd fastest in the Aston Martin. Thomas Ronhaar 3rd. Barry Burman 4th. Jarno Otmir 5th. Fabrizio Donoso in 6th. Wilson Hughes in 7th. Andre Tarabukin in 8th. Otis Lawrence in 9th. Philip Preschneider into Q3. Probably his best qualifying performance. I know you alluded to that, Jack. Probably his best qualifying performance we've seen from Philip Preschneider in a long time. Jack West 11th, Ike Boehner in 12th, Istvan Pukki 13th, Jan Halliday 14th place, and then of course Boulan Ferrer in 15th spot, of course not getting through either. But I have to tell you folks, amazing already. We've witnessed so much. Q2 was exciting, but Jack, surely Q3 has to be closer.
Well, this is the fight for pole. This wasn't even... That was just to get through to this point. So this is it. This is going to be incredibly close. Of course, we've got 16 zeros on the table right now. 6 cars were within a 1/10 of a second there. About a 1/10 of a second separating the entire field. So this is going to be an incredibly tight shootout for pole position. But, I mean, it's really anyone's. Ronar, of course, up close to the top end. And he's on 2 occasions now. Before this, he invalidated his pole position time, so we'll see if he can convert it this time around. Of course, there's plenty to keep your eyes on in this one, and for the first time in a while, both Aston Martins through into Q3 as well. Yeah, phenomenal. And we haven't seen that in a long time. We haven't seen Philip Preschneider in Q3 really in a long time. He hasn't had his best form as of yet. But we want to hear from you folks at home. This is where you get involved. Let us know in the live chat who's going to take pole position. That's what qualifying's all about. We're in Q3. Who's it going to be? Jack, I'm going to ask you now as we now pan across to the circuit. Who's getting pole position? I'm going to go Nicholas Longe on this one today.
Nicholas Longe. Well, I'm seeing now in the live chat, of course, we've got the likes of, I'm guessing Thomas Ronhaar. We've also got the likes of Jarno Otmir, talks of Otis Lawrence. People would like to see him as well take it. I'd agree with that. I think he's definitely got the pace, just needs to unlock the door. I'm actually going to throw a wild Donoso in this.
That's not a bad show.
I'm liking what I'm seeing from Donoso here this evening. We haven't seen a great Donoso performance now for a long time, but he seems to be able to hook things up around this track. Could it be that Donoso finds Spain? Is that his circuit, Jack?
Could well be. Well, we're going to find out in about 10 minutes' time if it's going to be his track or not. So, yeah, it's an interesting battle, but I'm going with Longue. George has gone for Donoso, so let's see if our predictions will come through or not. More than likely, probably not.
No.
because we're terrible.
It'll probably be Ronhaar at this rate. I mean, we know what his form's like when it comes to getting pole positions. He's extremely good when it comes to one-lap pace. So, I mean, that's the one thing for Ronhaar. It's the one thing. We mentioned it during the interview, of course, last time. The fact that he was able to hook up a lap, straight up quali pace, not a problem for Thomas Ronhaar. But it's when you get involved in the race aspect, where of course track limits are more prevalent, you need to be consistent. That's the one essence of Thomas Ronhaar that lets him down, is the fact that he can't necessarily hook it up over a race distance. However, one lap pace, he's got it.
Certainly has, and well, he's actually only, if my memory serves me correctly, he only has had the one pole position this year so far.
That's true.
So you know, the qualifying pace is there, but it's the invalidations have crept in. But he's got the win on the board right now. Of course, Barry Bormand 2 pole positions, Luke Smith 1, and Patrick Sipos 1. So it's been a bit of a mix up there. But
that's a fast time. That's a 15.8.
15.8 from Thomas Ronhaar straight away.
Goodness
and it's the first run.
That is incredible. Jarno Watmere immediately coming into the pit lane as well. So already a little discomfort already from a few cars that have decided to box already. Max Wiesel about to head out on his very first fast lap. We got more and more cars making their way through as well. Of course, we're only in the very early segments of qualifying. Andrei Tarabukin out on track as well. He is on a fast run. We'll wait and see what he can do. Just want to say, folks, if you voted in the poll, I can tell you that Jarno is the most voted. What a surprise. It has a lot of fans. Does Jarno Watmere 51%, Thomas Ronhaar 35%, Barry with 8%, Nicholas Longue only 3% of the vote. Tarabukin though 116.6. Amazing to think that is so far out from pole position at this point.
Yeah, I would imagine is a huge set for Andrei Tarabukin. We know he's got more pace, and a great job from him to get through to Q3 as well in the Alfa Romeo. So a fabulous job from Andrei Tarabukin, you have to say. But I mean, first straight out of the box, 15.8. That is a terrifying marker to throw down right out of the box from Thomas Ronhaar. But it's what we expect from him at this point. We expect him to just pull these crazy times out of the board straight away in this part of qualifying. He can deliver in qualifying, but we'll have to see if he converts this into a pole position. It'll only be his second one of the season so far. The most amount of pole positions currently belong to Barry Bormand this season at 2. But we'll see if he can match him this time in this qualifying. But let's see how this goes. Philip Preschneider on his lap as well. Let's see what he can deliver for AlphaTauri in this Grand Prix. Best performance so far this season, Philip Preschneider. Well, that's not going to help. He's going to invalidate that time. So nothing on the board for him. Just Max Wiesel on a used set of tyres, I believe. But here's your pick, Fabrizio Donoso on a lap now.
Yeah, making his way through towards turns 1 and 2. Let's join Fabrizio as he now makes his way through turn 3. Then have turn 4 coming up next. Heading out of sector 1, he'll then head right away into sector 2 as he now heads through the Repsol curve. The next right-hander is in fact, according to our track map, purple in the first sector. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case later on as he now heads through Seat Curve and then dips down in towards Firth, which is a very tricky, very easy to oversteer at this point as well, especially if you take too much of the curve. Very smart though from Fabrizio Donoso, dialed in at this point as he now whips through Campsa corner at turn 9. Of course, now we're reaching into sector 3 now as we break at the 100 here with Donoso, sweeping through now the very vastly more open part of Lakea Bend as now they head through this next section through Brank Sambadel, and next up is Europe Car at the right-hander. They'll take turn 13, 14 and 15 next at the chicane RACC, and then the final corner at New Holland where Fabrizio Donoso, the Chilean that has been in the world of F1 esports since 2017, across the line, second fastest, another 15.8. That is a sensational time. It may not be pole, but still a sensational lap from Donoso.
It's close. It's so close. Donoso is definitely in the fight, though, you have to say. Absolutely brilliant lap from Donoso. This is the pace that we haven't seen from him in a while, and it seems like it's a revitalised Fabrizio Donoso that we've got on the grid this evening. But a couple more times still to come. Ronhaar on new tyres, Donoso on new tyres, and I think Otis Lawrence, Nicholas Longue, all those guys also on used sets of tyres. Now, the man we have to watch, his qualifying performances have improved incredibly in the past couple of races, of course, Otmir, he's on a lap right now. He's through to Q3 easily this time. Let's see what he can put on the board with his first run in Q3, and this will give us the indication whether he's on used or new tyres. Here comes Otmir then round the final corner in his Mercedes car, crossing the line now, and he goes to a 15.9, so just about a tenth off, but certainly in the fight here at Spain.
Yeah, he certainly is in the fight. Nicolas Longuet won't be in the fight, though, at this moment. Invalidation on his previous lap, so he stays 6th fastest. But Thomas Ronha, can anyone stop him, folks? Fastest again. The current championship leader after taking his very first PSGL win last time out. I tell you what, we're writing stories here in the world of league racing. Writing stories of these great ever prosaic juggernauts, of course, that deliver time and time again. Ronha fastest here in Q3 for now, but Donoso, I just want to talk about him again, Jack. Of course, we've seen him compete year on year. He hasn't had it easy at all. He's had his struggles, his battles. Of course, it hasn't been the same since 2017. He was in the grand final with a chance to take the title. We have not seen that side of Donoso in an awfully long time. But again, Ronha notching yet more time, a whole tenth of a second off his previous lap, a 1:15.768. I'm lost for words, Jack Kinnan.
The man's just cracked. He's cracked. Absolutely unbelievable. 15.768. There's the marker for the rest of the grid. Absolutely stunning from Thomas Ronha. And, well, now he's got to see. The thing is, I think he's got another set of tyres to go again if he wants to. So he's got time to come in again and bolt on another set of tyres to see if he can go even quicker. 15.768. And that is the marker for the rest of the grid as the calm before the storm gets underway here. Philip Preston are coming out of the pits as well, Max Wissel as well. They haven't set representative times yet, so let's see how they stack up. But, well, I think Ronha's got another set of tyres to go again.
Well, I mean, I just find him sensational. I mean, what a talent. So dialed in. And you speak to him, he is so chilled. He's almost, it's scary, Jack. Honestly, you talk to him, he's so focused, he knows exactly what he wants, and nothing phases him. He is cold as ice. Thomas Ronha, relentless behind the wheel of a sim rig, represents Haas as well. Haas's best driver to date in the world of F1 esports, has delivered time and time again, had a great working relationship with his teammate Matthias van Erven as well. Be interesting to see what they're like going forward, and immediately stamping his authority in his Q3 session, taking the top time, then following up again with an improvement, and he'll have another set of tyres as well to deliver again. Now the big question is, can he be usurped? 15.7 is absolutely tremendously strong. Donoso in second, not far away, but we're not talking Ronha pace right now. Max Wissel, who's about to start his flying lap, we know that he's capable of getting top end times too. Amazing to see the new talents coming up through. Can you see that 15.7 being top, Jack?
It's gonna be tough, isn't it? I don't think so, but I've been wrong before. Remember what happened last week? Patrick Sipos pulled out a time that was quicker than F1 esports in the final part of qualifying, so do not count anything out in this last part of Q3, because we could well see some more major improvements coming down here. I think Ronha is coming out now, so he is going to go for another time, so he will be the last car to go for a lap here. Let's see if he can improve his 15.768, but other than that, Max Wissel is actually backed out, I think, to go on another fuel burn by the looks of it, so it will be Andrei Tarabukin to get us underway.
Yeah, Andrei Tarabukin will be out and about. Max Wissel is currently on a lap as well, making his way through this next section, coming around Repsol corner and then the seat, and this is going to be his fast run, albeit though might have a little bit of traffic, though there is a gap between him and the Ferrari further up as well, as we know. See Tarabukin come through seat curve, and further back then we do have Tarabukin making his way through the seat as well. Plenty of cars out on track looking to obviously deliver faster laps. I'm sure we'll see many of them as well, but can they top Thomas Ronha's time of a 1:15.768? Down comes Wissel in towards the opened up Lakea bend. Used to be tight, not so much now. Faster flowing, now riding up through Bank Sambadel, and then a cruise through towards Europe car here in Sector 3. 90-degree right-hander at this point, and then dipping into the chicane RACC, the Aston Martin. which are being represented by two drivers for the first time this season, with Donoso second fastest, at least for now. Can Max Wiesel join him at the top end of the field? Let's find out as he crosses the line. Not quite. In fact, very slow on his lap. Tarabukin comes across. Can he improve from 8th fastest? Oh, he can. He joins the 15 club. A third place lap. 1:15.933. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, considering his reserve, that's an excellent time from Andrei Tarabukin. And now we've got to keep our eyes on the last runs here. Nicolas Longue, 0.2 of a second up in the middle sector. He's my tip for pole. Let's see if he can pull it together. It might be a bit of a tough ask, but on his return in his first race for Ferrari, as he joined that team this week, of course, Barry Borman as well, joining alongside him. Here comes Longue around the final corner, up towards the line for the final time in Q3. Does he have enough to still pull? He does!
Brilliant!
Nicolas Longue, 17.75. Next up is Wilson Hughes, he goes to P7. Next up is for Brito Donoso. He goes at 15.7, but not enough to improve. Absolutely amazing stuff. Otis Lawrence goes to 5th fastest. Excellent performance. Here comes Jarno. Has he got anything in the tank? 4th place for Jarno Watmere. Here comes Barry Borman now to close it out with 3 more cars to go. P5 for Barry Borman. Next up, Max Wiesel. He's the second to last car to cross the line here into the last sector. He comes. Ronar's following as well. Let's see if there's going to be any improvement from Thomas Ronar. Here comes Max Wiesel. No improvement, but Ronar is next, crossing the line. He does a 15.6.
Incredible.
9. Thomas Ronar improves again and goes a 10th quicker than everybody else. It's Thomas Ronar with his second pole position of the season so far. I mean, this guy is next level.
You just can't stop him. A 15.649. We all thought it not possible. We thought the first time was enough. We thought the second time was enough. Turns out the third one is that much better. Pole position for Thomas Ronhar. Nicolas Longue in second. Fabrizio Donoso in third as well. How can you stop Thomas Ronhar? You can't out-qualify him. You just have to beat him in the race. Jarno Watmere in fourth. Barry Burremand in fifth. Andrei Tarabukin in sixth. Otis Lawrence 7th, Philip Prejneda in 8th, Wilson Hughes 9th, Max Wiesel in 10th place as well. But what a sensational qualifying, Jack. Did you see that coming whatsoever? I thought we'd seen it all, but a whole 10th of a second and a 15.6. Absolutely sensational.
Amazing. Unbelievable lap. And we were close, George, weren't we? But
very close.
Our picks, second and third. So we weren't far off in that regard. But
I'm calling Ronhar a wild card. Ronhar's a wild card, I'm telling you now.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing lap. But boy, have we got a race teed up. We've got some race teed up. Top 5 is just... We got Ronhar, Longue, Otmere, Boremans. I mean, this is teed up to be an incredible race. Andrei Tarabukin as well, P6. Amazing. Great job from Andrei Tarabukin, the youngster. I mean, he's going to be... I don't think he can be displeased with that at all, filling in this week. But tell you what, we've got so much happening. Of course, Jake Benham down in 17th. Let's see how far he can come up, if he can come up at all. But Ronhar against some of the finest drivers on the grid in the top 5. Just settle in, folks. Yeah,
I mean, it's sensational. I mean, a statement as well to go with Thomas Ronhar. We talk about his ability on the F1 game, but that's not all. That is not just where he lies. He's also incredibly quick in other sims as well. He won a LAN event as well recently, and that was on a total different platform. There's also talk, Jack, of RAG actually putting him through another sim through iRacing. There's more events that they're using Thomas Ronhar for. He is talented, multi-platform talented.
Here we go.
We go racing, folks. We're about to go racing here in PSGL. All 5 lights are lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Thomas Ronhar getting away well. Nicolas Longue, second place at this moment in time. Fabrizio Donoso, a steady start as now Longue looks to take the outside line through turn 1. Can't stop Ronhar, who leads the way, but look at Otmere, looking to find his way through past Donoso. There's 3 cars dueling further back. Otis Lawrence trying to make his way through. Look at Prejneda, who's right in the midst of this fight here over 10th place. Iker Boehner through the inside, outside for Max Wiesel, through the middle, and AlphaTauri as though they make their way into C curb. 3 wide through this next left. Contact between the Aston and the AlphaTauri as they make their way through still. More and more. They were nearly 4 wide. Scrambling now up through the next left. A spin. Oh no! Prejneda's gone. Prejneda's round.
That is absolute disaster for Philip Presheder. Was in the middle of the 3 wide section throughout the whole part of that first part of the lap. Otis Lawrence trying to fight on Andre Tarabukin, trying to go all the way around the outside. He might make this work, you know. That is a lovely move from Otis Lawrence around the outside of Andre Tarabukin to take P6, and he moves up towards that top 5 position. But that was such a shame. They went 3 wide all the way through the first sector, and unfortunately Philip Presheder just got squeezed in the middle, and 3 into 1 was never going to work right there. Ronar leads. Longueuil actually got the better start initially, but just couldn't quite get that second phase right. Slotted to second. Denoso holding third. Opmir P4. Borman P5. Otis Lawrence up into P6. A couple of guys moving in. Kiefer, Parajic, Xander Van Dyken. They're all into the pit lane for a change of front wing, you would imagine. Biggest mover at the moment is Alexander Kraft from the back of the grid, up 4 places. Jake Benham up 2, as is Ikerbena, and Isfan Pukki also up 2. So not too many moves across the board. Having a look at tyres, well, it's exactly what you expect. Everyone's on the hards.
Yeah, coming out of the pit lane as well, Tomek Parajic, it certainly has not been the start he would have wanted. Obviously clambering to get the best positions out on track. Jack Wester, we're currently seeing as well 12th place in this classification, chasing after Isfan Pukki in the AlphaTauri. Ikerbena as well in the top 10, who was right in the midst of that scrap at the very start of the race. They now whip through this next right at Kamsa Curve. Ron Haar still leads, Longueuil in second. Denoso looking very strong in third as well. I would not count him out of a race win here. I mean, what it would mean to Fabrizio Denoso to get back to winning ways here at PSGL. I'll tell you what, we haven't seen in a while. Was his last win Zandvoort, Jack Canan?
Ooh, you've gone back a good bit there. Denoso is the last time we had a winner. I actually can't remember when we had Denoso back at the top.
I swear I remember him winning at Zandvoort.
It could have been Zandvoort, but the Zandvoort win I remember is Joni Tormala, but it could have been after that, I'm not sure. But Denoso, it's been a while, and he's going to be hungry for a win, but he is under pressure from a certain Jarno Opmeer at the moment.
He certainly is. Jarno chasing him through turns 1 and 2, and Denoso, in fact, losing time on Longueuil in that second place, currently sitting in third, though. And that is a podium place. We'll surely take it right now, but of course there's plenty more to play. There's now Ron Hart sits in first. The gap now 7, or just over 7.5 tenths of a second. Tomek Parajic now retiring as well. Get the feeling that, of course, he did box earlier on. Obviously feels that his race was run, retiring in the pit lane, conceding this race at this point on lap 3 of 33. God, I never like it when they retire early, but nevertheless, it's a shame. But you never know, we get safety cars from time to time.
Certainly do. And, well, thank you to Connor for correcting us. It was Austria a couple of seasons ago was Denoso's last win when we had the infamous Jarno headset smash moment. That was Denoso's last win when, of course, Danny Moreno and Jarno Opmeer collided for the win, and through went Denoso to take the victory.
We almost forget that it was Denoso who took that win, because the story was pretty much around the Mercedes moment, of course, at that point. That was what that race embodied, so sort of took the shine off Denoso's win slightly. Of course, we have seen Denoso win a race in the past, but great to hear, obviously, Connor with the knowledge that we all know he has. So big thank you to Big C for that. But yeah, I mean, Denoso, he is talented, Jack. He's got the ability. Just need to see it. That's all.
Yep, that's it. And he's got a win on the board. He's won here before. And, well, settling into a nice P3 right now. Currently just looking at ERS situation. Thomas Ronar with 68. Longueuil a little bit worse off, 52%. He's got Denoso. He's got about the same as Ronar. Opmeer, obviously, always good at managing his ERS. He's got 84% in the bank at the moment. Barry Borman on the same, around 68 for him at the moment. Otis Lawrence settling in nicely in P6. He's got 75%, settling into that top 10. Andre Tarabukin P7, Wilson Hughes, Max Wissel and Ikerbena rounding out the top 10. So now we'll see. Now, Ronar nearly got away from DRS in that early phase, but wasn't able to do so. So Longueuil will stick with him and will be able to manage and gain back the ERS that he used to stay with our leader. So lap 5 at 33, these laps will go by very, very quickly. As always, don't expect much to happen for the next couple of laps or so until we get to the pit stop phase. It is very much DRS train. Nobody will make a move. ERS saving, all of that jazz going on. So don't expect anything major to happen unless somebody has a big accident in the next couple of laps or so.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. We said it before. This big scramble for position on the opening couple of laps is where we'll see the action in the initial. But then, of course, it's the second stint where we see things heat up and tends to be the battle for the win. Obviously, we saw Ronha, if you remember, Jack, obviously first round of the championship. Well, in fact, I believe it was the second. It was at Australia, first round of the championship, where, of course, we saw him duel with the likes of Barry Burman, those two coming together towards the end of this race. And it was a Ronha penalty in all the fracas between the two of them that led to Barry Burman sealing the deal. I mean, Ronha could have taken his first win much earlier, but made a crucial error through the closing stages of Australia.
Yeah, and that was the big turning point, of course. Barry hanging on to take the victory, and then went back to back, and then it all sort of went downhill from there, as it sort of always has done for Barry in the past couple of seasons. After those first two wins, obviously has missed around, had two collisions in the past two rounds as well, and has ended up, unfortunately, down the order as well. Well, he's still in the championship fight, but now is a full race win away from Thomas Ronhaar. The problem for him is Ronhaar's currently in the lead, so there is a big chance now. Needs to get up and try outscore Ronhaar, but that's going to be a big ask, of course. Now there's a big moment now, a big opportunity for Jan Otmir. If it finishes like this, I believe Otmir will jump up just behind a certain Jake Benham in the championship, so it will get close, but Ronhaar's got an opportunity to open out a big lead in the championship if he hangs on to this win.
Yeah, he certainly does, and it'll go a long way to his title charge as well. I mean, Barry Burman at this stage, 5th place, and as you alluded to, hasn't yet won a race since the opening races that he has taken, which tends to correspond with true Barry Burman form, because this has happened time after time, Jack, where he takes the initial wins at the start of the season, but then things start to unravel then when we dip through the latter part of the championship. So, you know, has Barry got to try and get his head straight? Has he got to try and recoup the form that he once had? Because it seems to me a common trait with Burman. Isn't quite able to follow up the early form in a season. Tends to get out of the blocks quickly, but it tends to die off quickly too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's won I think if we looked at it, he's won every single season opener. But unfortunately has not been able to convert that into a championship win. So maybe the formula is don't win the opening race, and maybe he might have a chance. But it's just an interesting one. And he just needs to keep consistent. He's up there in the top 5 right now. But those collisions, of course, he had the really unfortunate disconnect. It all sort of stemmed from that disconnect in Kota, which dropped him all the way to the back. And he was leading that race, George. He was on such a good form. He was leading that race comfortably, and then had the disconnect. And then, of course, in Saudi Arabia, came together with Danny Berezne and dropped down the order out of the points. So, and of course, he's missed last week, so he's lost a big chunk of points. But he could have been right up the front there. Just those two sort of unfortunate instances between himself, Danny Berezne, and that disconnect sort of really put a hamper on his championship. He's still in it, but he could have been so much closer.
Yeah, he could well have been, and it's such a big shame. Obviously, you don't want to lose points like that, but nevertheless, there is still more races to come. We're still only not even at the midway point of the season yet. We've still got more to come, plenty to come, and make sure you brace yourself for every race week that we have here at PSGL. Every Wednesday, don't forget, at 7 o'clock. The time never changes, of course, that being UK time. Of course, need to address the time difference if you're in Europe, obviously usually +1 hour, but great to have you all with us here for this brilliant Spanish Grand Prix here at PSGL. Longuet starting to get closer now to Thomas Ronhaar. The gap starting to sort of come closer and closer. A better line from Longuet here through Sector 1 as well as they head into Sector 2. The Ferrari looking a little bit better in the corners. Now, is Ronhaar suffering? Maybe the tension getting to him a little bit. We alluded to that 1 lap pace. Again, the consistency is vital. Obviously, Ronhaar doesn't want to lose the position. Of course, P1 in the first stint would be hugely rewarding for him, and certainly when the pit stops, when they unravel later on in the race. And then, of course, we have the latter stages. Needs to hold on to this track placement as best as he can, but with DRS now opening up through Campster Corner, heading down through towards the next left at turn 10. Opportunity for Longuet as they head into the next left now. Ronhaar still holds on to the advantage, but I get the feeling Longuet might have his number down the home straight.
Yeah, it's the question of does Ronar even bother to defend it here? Because it seems Longue is pushing a little bit. But again, is he going through the tyres a little bit too much? Donoso, of course, is staying with them too. So Ronar again, but he's being very measured as he always is. He's not using any ERS. He's not pushing too hard, but Longue is just keeping him honest as they came through the last corner there. And I'm not sure, I don't think there's going to be any move made by Nicolas Longue down towards turn 1 here. He's going to sit behind for now, comfortably in there at the moment. But again, Longue just needs to keep himself in the mirrors, of course, but again, it's going to be very hard to put Ronar off his game right now. Once he's in the zone, I don't think you're going to get him out of it.
No, absolutely not. He is cold as ice, as I alluded to. We got Jarno Watmere as well making moves here on Fabrizio Donoso. How many times have we seen these two come together in the past? Donoso, though, with the inside line, though Jarno will have the inside, heading through C curve at turn 5, down in towards turn 7 now, as they rise their way out of earth curve shortly. Of course, Jarno now with the nose in front. The Mercedes into third place. Now moves ahead of Fabrizio Donoso, who has been in the form of his life here through Spain qualifying, out-qualified Jarno Watmere, but Watmere says, you're not having it this time. Third place on a plate. The Dutchman now in the podium places.
Yeah, he's pushing on. He's used up a good bit of ERS there, but he got in front of Donoso, wants that track position, and is now on the charge up towards the back of Longue here in his Mercedes. But I wasn't too expecting that, actually. I don't think Donoso was either, and that was, of course, got him into that third place. But now Donoso going to try and go with him here. Gaps opens up out front. Ronar on a full charge of ERS. Longue not too far off, got 85% in his battery at the moment, and will just stay in the train for now. But Watmere wanting that track position, and track position so key around here. Tricky to overtake around here, as it always is. But again, now he's got a chance to sit in behind, charge that battery back up. But certainly now he knows he's got a chance to get himself further up into the championship fight here. Needs every point he can get.
Yeah, but we all know, don't count out the Flying Dutchman. Do I dare go back to USA, Jack Hanan? Of course, we all watched that one, didn't we, folks at home? An incredible display of overtaking from Jarno Watmere, and again, I'm sure we'll allude back to that time and time again. No doubt, the greatest league racing performance of all time. Lap 10 of 33, Ron Haas still leads. Longue in second. Watmere, fresh from making his move on Donoso. He's now third, with Donoso in fourth, Barry Burremand in fifth, Otis Lawrence in sixth spot. Further back, many more cars are going to get into the fight. There's a little bit of a midfield scrap, I'll call it, between the likes of Boehner, Pookie and Jack West. Those three are certainly fighting over the points-paying positions. Max Wiesel, of course, ahead of them too. Wilson Hughes, fairly sobered in 8th place, would have probably preferred to be higher up, but in behind Andre Tarabukin. I'm sure we'll see that start elevating very shortly as now they whip through the final corner at New Holland and commence lap 11 of 33. And Ron Haas now taking them down through towards turn 1. Longue, I think, happy to wait behind. I get the feeling that he's being patient, Jack. I think we're going to see something during the second stint, maybe see something during the pit stop phase. Do we see some discrepancy in the strategy? Could we see a little change up in the books? Will Longue perhaps box later, or just watch and see where Ron Haas boxes and just do the opposite? Because that can make all the difference in terms of track position.
Yeah, well, if I was Longue now, you've got to do something different to Ronar. You can't just sit behind him and follow him into the pits as well. He's got to try either going long or going a bit shorter. But again, you've got to balance the risk of tyre wear in that one as well. So he's got to be thinking about that as well. But I think you're right. He's got to go opposite Ronar. He's got to try something different to try and gain this track position, because it's going to be a tough ask to get in front of him on track. But it could be possible. He's charging with the ERS. He's not pushing or having to push the same. But that was very wide from Watmere in the background. Nearly just overcooked it completely into the corner there, but managing to get it back online, not using any losing much time there. But just, again, you can sort of sense that Watmere is on the move here, trying to get himself up into, keep himself in the fight here, not letting these top two get away, but was very close to running off the road there in the end. But now we cross the line to begin lap number 12 of 33. Longue going to close up again. He's not going to make that move, I don't think. He's going to sit behind. He's going to show himself in the mirrors, let Ronar know he's there, but sitting behind for now. But if he sees the opportunity, he'll certainly go for it. He won't let it go.
Yeah, and he's a very imposing figure, is the Frenchman Nicolas Longue. He's been on the F1 esports scene so long, had his debut season with Red Bull back in the day as well. Broke away from them, joined Renault, and has now seen himself join the likes of Alfa Romeo, and now confirmed that he's at the Ferrari team as well. It's quite interesting because, of course, we know that Longue and Barry are actually long-term friends, so it seemed like a likely partnership, of course, heading into this season, which is incredible. It doesn't seem like a partnership that we would likely see, but nevertheless, bringing these two together that have been friends for so long and now forming, should we say, a teammate relationship here at Ferrari. Great place for them to develop themselves and essentially make it their own, Jack Canan. Literally now, Longuet showing that he's still got the pace. We've seen it before as well, not to mention his performances in F1 esports. He showed there that he can cope with the pressure, not to mention unlock the pace as well against some of the most fastest drivers you'll ever see on the F1 game. So I get a feeling there's more that we can see out of Nicolas Longuet. Could Ferrari be the ones to unlock that potential?
Certainly could be, and well, he's coming down towards turn one. I think this could be the move, George. Here comes Longuet. Ronard defends. It's around the outside for Longuet if he fancies this one all the way around the outside of turn one. There it is from Nicolas Longuet. Moves up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Ronald didn't make it too easy for him. Carried the speed around the outside, and Longuet leads for the first time this season. Yeah, brilliant move from Longuet. Actually took the long way round near enough through turn one. Not many would use that route, and obviously Ronhar having to defend to the inside. Generally, you would favour that side indeed. Generally, you have more access to the track, and certainly the Tiger line that's considered around the Spanish circuit. But Longuet going the long way round and managing to pull off certainly a sensational move to usurp that of Thomas Ronhar. So now Longuet leads on what has to be said as well, Jack Canan, a very important, integral part of the race, because this is when you start thinking about pit stops, start thinking about strategy. Even though you're on the hard tyres and there's still some laps to be had, having the track position heading into your pit stop is all the more important. Certainly is, yeah. So now Ronhar gets a chance to follow and stay in behind. I don't think he'll be too displeased with that, to follow Nicolas Longuet around the track right now. But what I was about to say before I was rudely interrupted by Nicolas Longuet going around the outside was, take what you're seeing right now, folks, this sort of battle that you're seeing. I guarantee you, this is exactly what we're going to be seeing when F1 Esports rolls around again. This top five, I reckon, is going to be the top five fighting for position in F1 Esports. I have a feeling, you've got Ferrari, you've got Haas, you've got the Aston Martins in there as well. It lines up almost beautifully for next season with those two Ferraris, Longuet and Bormann up at the top end. But again, you could say that about any race in PSGL. Take the top five and transpose it onto F1 Esports and it wouldn't look any different. So it's great to see this. But Longuet out front for Ferrari. Ronhar following behind, Altmaier sitting in third, charging that ERS back up. Denosa still sitting pretty in P4, Barry Bormann in P5. And, well, everyone is still in the DRS train, down to maybe 16th is still in a big train right here. Alexander Kraft, the last of the cars in the big DRS train. Then Sander van Dijken, unfortunately, on his own, 28 seconds off the back of this. I've been corrected by chat. I forget. Imagine if Freddie Rasmussen was in this as well, and Lucas Blakely up at the front end. I mean, we've got all that to look forward to. Yeah, I mean, no doubt they will make a reappearance here. We have seen Freddie Rasmussen in the past, Lucas Blakely as well, who was contested in this championship. I'm sure without a doubt we'll see him again. Of course, Blakely's title-winning year was actually... prior to that, he was winning races here at PSGL anyway. Who can forget the exhibition races, Jack? Blakely went 2 from 2. Certainly did, yeah, and showed his pace straight away, and of course ended up walking away that season with the last season's PSGL PC title. That is a big twitch from Longuet coming through turn 2 there, had to hang on to it. And, well, again, pushing on a little bit here, Longuet. Has he used up too much of those tyres, you wonder? But... hanging on for now, just a little bit of a loose moment, but feeling the pressure a little bit from behind. But as I was saying, yeah, Lucas Blakely, last season's PSGL PC Championship winner, of course, in very controversial circumstances from, if you remember that Monza race, a collision between Bormann and Rasmussen. Who can forget it on the final lap, which we didn't know at the time, but it was the championship deciding lap, which of course cut that season short due to some problems. But again, Blakely showed it early on in the season, so the early races sort of set the scene for what the championship would be like. So we're looking forward to that when F123 does roll around and we get to see those exhibition races again and see who's on the pace. So of course keep that in mind for future. But again, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We've still got this championship to decide. We're on round 6, and there's the first pit stop. Barry Bormann bailing in. Yeah, Barry Bormann coming in, and I'm not sure whether he'll be the only one. I mean, he's the only one I'm seeing boxing right now, so a very early call from Barry Bormann.
In fact, I think he's the only one who's actually going to stop this time round. Ronhaar getting very close behind Longuet, not enough to make a move though as they peel through the next right at turn 3. Ronhaar very close though, might have a chance as well heading through turn 4. Does not choose though to make the crucial overtake. Ike Boehner now into 9th place, chasing after Max Wiesel, who's got 8.5 tenths to find on Wilson Hughes. Those two coming together through the initial sector as well. But now we're going to see certainly the front two have got to respond, would you say, Jack?
Oh, Longuet's holding up Ronhaar big time. Of course, this is the team game being played already at Ferrari. Ronhaar went for the move in turn 1, couldn't get it done, but you could see Longuet slowing up on those apexes and keeping Ronhaar at bay. He was going for the move, it didn't work. This is going to help out Barry Bourmand here big time in this race, keeping Ronhaar at bay here. Look at this on the exit. Again, Ronhaar no way through. He's going to have to go around the outside. Look at this from Longuet. Absolutely very, very good stuff from him. And then again, slows up on the way through the corner. This is big stuff for Barry. This is going to help him out hugely. Backing up the pack here is Nicholas Longuet. And this is going to be frustration there as Opmeer peels in. He knows he has to respond immediately. But here comes Ronhaar again. This will be the move for the lead now. He'll be very frustrated at this. And then the move in the background. Otis Lawrence on Donoso as well. Moves up a place. But that is team tactics at play at Ferrari already. Yeah, brilliant to see as well. We all know that Longuet and Barry have a great working relationship. They've just shown it again. Barry obviously making that very early stop. Now, how is that last lap? How much of a difference is that going to make? Is that going to allow Barry to enter the fight? Jarno Opmeer already making the jump. He knows he had to. Don't forget, not only was Thomas Ronhaar effectively hindered during that last lap, so was everyone else behind him. Barry Bourmand could yet benefit massively off the back of this. Ronhaar's now got to put the power down, needs to try and build a gap, certainly try and draw the pace back in his quarter. This could put everything at risk for Thomas Ronhaar. Certainly could, and Barry has managed to be with that. He's got in front of Opmeer and away from DRS. Had to have an absolutely spot on outlap there, and has done so, and has come out in front of Opmeer by 1.2 seconds. So tactics already at play at Ferrari. They've only been together a week and they're already getting this together in PSGL. Does Ronhaar respond now? Yes, he does. He's got to. In comes Thomas Ronhaar now. He sees that Opmeer's come up behind Barry. He's got a big task now. Longuet follows him in. Otis Lawrence as well. He's having a great race today. Wilson Hughes staying out, and Isvan Pukic has the fastest lap of the race. But we've got the top 5, I suppose, have all come into the pits. We're watching now. This is going to be crucial. This is a big moment for Barry Bourmand's championship as well. He needs every position he can get now. Down the back straight, Opmeer following behind him now. Watch on the right hand side, Bourmand with the fastest lap of the race now. Where does he come out? There is Ronhaar emerging on the right hand side. Bourmand is going to get in front of everybody, and he's into now a net P2. He's also got tyre temperature, George, so he's going to have a go at Ronhaar here if he possibly can, but he won't have the ERS really. He's going to have to stay behind. Here he comes with the tyre temperature. Does he have enough to get alongside? He doesn't. Ronhaar uses that ERS to stay in front, but Bourmand with that team tactics from Longuet is now up to P2 and is fighting Ronhaar for the lead now. Outside line for Bourmand. He's got the tyre temperature. Does he have enough to get in front? He does not quite. He's going to get the door shut on him by Ronhaar here. Now Ronhaar's going to keep him behind just about into the next left-hander. This is so close, but Bourmand moving into a net P2 now. Ronhaar just about hanging on by the skin of his teeth.
Well, I tell you what, the Ferrari magic has worked. Barry Bourmand has at least brought himself into the mix. Jarno Opmeer as well has also brought himself into the fight, choosing the box prior to that of Nicholas Longuet. Longuet, incidentally, has come out as well in behind the likes of Otis Lawrence, and Lawrence himself also looking to bring himself in too. But look at this, Ronhaar now at the mercy of one very fast Iranian, Barry Bourmand, who will without a shadow of a doubt try and unlock the door on the Dutchman, who is immediately trying to sprint away. And I'd say the immediate threat now is Jarno Opmeer as they head down now towards turn 1. Jarno getting closer, so is Ronhaar to the front wing. Barry goes defensive. In comes the Dutchman, outside line in towards turn 1. Opmeer now, net P2, a sensational move. He picked his spot. The Mercedes now risen above the Ferrari. The plan may have worked so far, but not enough to usurp Ronhaar.
There Opmeer all the way around the outside, and now he's going to chase after Thomas Ronhaar here, but again he's got to get that ERS charge back. He's used up a big chunk of it to get in front of Bourmand there. Bourmand had no answer, went around the outside. Fabulous racing from all of these guys today, but My eyebrows are raised, George, because Otis Lawrence is here as well, and he's here to play for a podium here. This has been an excellent performance from the young man. He's net P4 at the moment. Otis Lawrence might be on for something here, and he'll certainly go for it if he's given the opportunity here in Spain. Rather than going to lap 20, about 14 laps to go. Donoso's in there as well. Wilson Hughes is in there as well. Longo only kind of really lost 2 or 3 places as a result of that, and is still very much in the fight here. But again, you'd like to see these little things happening already in this this late phase of PSGL. But again, Otmir now in a little bit of threat here. He's got to stay in DRS or Runner with the fastest lap of the race as well.
Look at Otis.
This is again. Here comes Otis Lawrence. Is he close enough? No, he's settling behind, not using the ERS. Shows himself in the mirrors, but this could be a big race for Otis Lawrence.
Well, I tell you what, talk about making a name for yourself, Jack Kinnan. What about Otis Lawrence? Bring yourself into the fight. Fight against the best names in the business. This young man has got the pace here in the Red Bull now, riding on the rear wing of Barry Burremand, trying to usurp the Ferrari, who now, I think, has had his attention diverted away from Jarno Otmir. He's now looking in his rearview mirror, could see an imposing Red Bull making its way closer and closer towards him. I don't think this is the end of the story, Jack.
Certainly isn't, and he'll know that he has an opportunity because, of course, Barry is currently flashing, so he'll know that he's low on ERS at the moment. So if he sees an opportunity, well, he'll certainly go for it. He's got nothing to lose here, Otis Lawrence, in one of his first couple of races in PSGL PC as well. Would love to get himself on the podium for the first time, and again has an opportunity to do so. Lap 21 of 33 we're about to go on to now, and this is one of the best races we've had so far this season. Again, we say that every week, but we haven't had this much side by side at all so far this season. Burman charging a little bit of ERS back. Does Otis Lawrence decide to go for it now? No, I think he's going to sit behind and just be patient, and maybe it will come to him later. He doesn't want to throw away a good result either. Donoso staying behind Longo as well at the same time, but I think it's going to settle down a little bit now. It was a little bit crazy there for a few moments, but Otmir having to work very hard to stay with Runner at the moment. 5% ERS, Runner on 33%, so he has got a little bit to get away if he does choose to do so, but Otmir with a bit of work to do here.
Yeah, he does. He's got to close down on Thomas Ronhaar. Now, this is where Otmir is brilliant. Closing out races is what he's good at. He's been in this position before. He can do it again. A fight between Ronhaar and Otmir here in the closing stages of Spain, I think, will be just what the crowd are looking for. Otis Lawrence as well, though. What can he pull off? Certainly has been pressurising Barry Burremand up to this point. Nicolas Longo, he too, under a lot of pressure. I mean, look at Fabrizio Donoso right now, Jack. He is right on his rear wing.
Yeah, he is. And Donoso wants to gain those positions back. He lost early on. Started towards up again. He started up the front end, but again, he needs to get a little bit more track position as well. And with lap 22 of 33, well, there's one man who's hoping for a safety car big time, is Jake Benham, second in the championship. He's up in P3 at the moment, but he needs a safety car really to come his way for anything to rescue anything from this race. And again, he's got a lot of work to do as well. Otis Lawrence now feeling the pressure a little bit now. Longo fancying a move on him potentially, following in behind now in his Ferrari car for the first time. Again, playing the team tactics with Barry Borman, moving him up into a position where he can fight for more points here. But Longo's looked the quicker of the two so far today, so maybe if he gets up behind Barry, maybe there might be a swap going on there.
Yeah, it could well be. We'll have to wait and see whether that is the case. Otmir now still sort of riding that gap of around 6.5 tenths between him and Thomas Ronhaar. There's no necessary emergency right now. Otmir doesn't have to challenge him. Not at this point. What happens now doesn't matter. It's the end of the race that he needs to consider. On lap 22 of 33, 11 laps to go. Of course, we've still got this lap to complete as well. Further back to Noso, trying to get himself into the mix. Otis Lawrence doing a superb job of marshalling the gap between him and Nicolas Longo, albeit though Longo started to close the gap himself. But naturally, that will come at a cost if he is pushing using the battery. I mean, naturally, Otis will look to try and maximise his efforts in the corners in order to try and keep Longo behind him. Of course, there is plenty of opportunities for, overtaking, not to mention opportunities to unlock the door on certain drivers, as now Longo using the DRS is going to get closer and closer now behind Lawrence. Might look to get past the Red Bull at this point as they certainly streak through turns 1 and 2. Further up though, Otmir still effectively closing. Burrman now still still also nurturing around a 1/6 of a second gap as well. I tell you what, this is teeing up to be a brilliant, fascinating encounter. And look at Longuet pushing Otis Lawrence through the middle sector now, Jack. I have a feeling the Frenchman is turning up the heat.
He certainly is, and well, he's got to do so if he wants to gain these positions back that he lost as a result of the team tactics played earlier on. But this is teeing up to be excellent. But again, Otmir, he's got about half of the ERS of Ronar at the moment. Otmir on 17%, Ronar on 41% at the moment. So he's got a lot of work to try and charge that back up again and get on the attack. Doesn't quite have enough to do so at the moment. So he's in the best ERS position at the moment. Ronar, again, so crucial that he stayed in front of Barry when he did, to make sure he kept that track position, because this could have been a very different race had Barry managed to slot in front and even just held him up even slightly to get in front. But again, good response from Ronar to get into the pits immediately and respond to Barry and Longuet after the pit stop phase. But he can't relax, because there's still plenty of time left in this race, and he's got Jarno Otmir chasing him down. And Otmir will want a second victory on his card, as will Ronar. He'll want another victory on his card here in this race. And, well, Barry as well, he'll be chasing after. This is big points, of course. Both of these guys, they need to finish in front of Ronar, really, to keep this championship sort of alive here. There's still plenty of time left in this championship. But, again, it could be well over a race distance clear at the end of this one.
Yeah, I mean, what happens later on in the season could mean absolutely nothing, Jack. I mean, this result could have ramifications that could really twist the future of where this championship goes, certainly here at this point. Obviously, if Ronhard takes victory, that again furthers his advantage at the top of the standing, and points mean everything, folks. This is why these drivers fight for every point they can muster in order to become PSGL champion. Ronhard now second, out on track, net P1. Is in fact closed up on Jack West now. 6.5 seconds is all that separates now, but Jack West still yet to box. Jarno Otmir, of course, in third as well. Barry Burraman in fourth. Otis Lawrence fifth. Jack West obviously looking for that safety car as well, but I don't think it's coming, Jack. And I get the feeling he might have to come into the pits now very shortly to make that essential stop, as that car streamed down through towards turn one. Ronar in second place, Otmir still in third, closing that gap once again. It's coming by 2/10, Jack. Is this the time now where Otmir starts asking questions?
But yeah, he should. Again, he's going to just keep probing, but again, he needs to be mindful of that battery charge. Ronar has got more to defend with, so the last thing he should do is waste it. And if he does go for the move, make sure that he can get it done, of course. So, well, but again, as we know with Otmir, his approach will be measured in it. But again, this is going to be fantastic. I mean, you've got the two Dutchmen fighting each other at the top end. I think this is one of the first times we're going to see these guys go toe-to-toe for a victory here. Otmir trying to go for his second victory, of course. He had his amazing victory from 15th on the grid. Ronar, of course, took his first win last week, trying to go for their second victory. Barry, of course, he's trying to go after his third victory, of course, and get himself back in this championship fight. And out of all these guys, Otis Lawrence, he's the man with absolutely nothing to lose here.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I mean, Otis now bringing himself into the mix. I mean, this is a great advert for this young driver, Jack. Obviously, teams are going to be watching this. We know that he's got a Veloce Esports development deal with Veloce Esports. Obviously, he's too young to feature, you know, even in the Challenger Series. But in the future, surely he's got to be earmarked as a talent for the likes of any of these teams right now.
Yeah, they're going to be watching with interest. Of course, he's got a couple of years left before he can actually compete. So all he can do is keep performing at this level. And when he's already performing at the level that he is right now, I mean, you can't not take notice, can't you? I mean, it's amazing the level he's performing at already at such a young age. So again, Ronar just keeping measured at the moment. Otmir charging up that ERS for an attack if he can possibly get it, being very, very calm. But I think, if anything, the first move that might be made is Longuet on Lawrence. Otis doesn't quite have the ERS at the moment. Longuet just sitting in behind, he's got 24% in the battery at the moment, but he'll want a top 5 and get both Ferraris into that top 5 for the first time this season. Strongest performance from Ferrari this season so far, so they'll like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're just watching the drivers now head through the final sector. We're just running on board with Nicolas Longuet as he tries to bring himself closer to Otis Lawrence. Donoso still hasn't left him yet. Still remains very tight to the back of that Ferrari. Of course, Donoso drove for that team last season. Would love nothing more than to get a little bit of revenge on a on a former team that he looked after. Of course, every driver's response to moving teams is to do better than where they were previously. No doubt Donoso harbours a lot of those feelings himself. Still, that same competitive human being that we saw back in 2017 where he took Brendan Lee all the way, as we're now seeing the cars make their way around on lap 27 to 33. Jack West still yet to pit. Ronha still second. Istvan Pukki also making a move ahead of Andre Tarabukin. Now goes into 10th place. And now we're seeing the cars work their way through this middle sector. I tell you what, it's getting to the point now, folks, where moves start to be made. We've got a mere 6 laps left in this incredible Spanish Grand Prix. I hope you're all enjoying it there at home as well. Please make sure, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Don't forget as well on social media, at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Don't forget as well to let us know your thoughts on this incredible Spanish GP race and what is yet to come. Hashtag PSGL guys on Twitter. Make sure you let us know how you're feeling. But incredible. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're about to be in for a hellacious ride.
Certainly are, and just a quick, if it were to finish like this, according to well, as you all know, folks, my calculations are usually bad, but the current championship standings would be...
Oh, here we go.
This is the move now. Jack West, he's hung on for as long as he could, and he's now been dispatched by Thomas Ronnar. Opmer needs to get by here cleanly, as was on the crop with the fast lap of the race, of course. But again, this is an opportunity for Ronnar to try and maybe get away a little bit here. He'll want to get by Jack West as quickly as possible. Again, there's still an opportunity for a safety car, but again, he's still well within his rights to fight for position here. But again, he's just not going to have the grip to deal with all the cars behind him, and through he goes for this. But again, you can't blame Jack West. Of course, we see plenty of guys try this week in, week out, hoping for a safety car. And again, positions matter.
Yeah, no, they do, and you can understand his reasoning. Obviously, go as long as possible. I'll tell you what, again, though, Jack, this isn't helping Ferrari, because Barry Burman now stuck behind Jack West, who's now stuck in 3rd place. Now, how much time is that going to cost them? Obviously, Otmir now, remember, he was 4 tenths behind. He's now 7 to 8 tenths, so Ronha has been gifted a little bit of breathing space here, which I'm sure he'll appreciate. Nevertheless, though, Jarno will make short work of bringing that back in, as will, I'm sure, Barry Burman. Now, this is going to get very complicated because now heading through the chicane, probably the worst place to be stuck behind that Williams. And Jack West, indeed, now coming into the pit lane. No, there's nothing more he can do. May as well come in, and a deliberate, I must say, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, and he's retired from the session.
Yeah, and as a result of that, Barry's now lost DRS. Here comes Longue and Otis Lawrence late on the brakes round the outside at turn 1. He's going to have to run off the road there. Otis leaves him space to come back on, and Otis will hang on to that one. Lawrence fighting with Longue very hard here now. Longue on the attack. Does he have enough to get in front here? Defensive line from Lawrence. Here comes Longue all the way around the outside of the next part of the corner. He's not going to quite have enough traction. He'll have the inside for the next corner, though. Otis Lawrence leaves him just enough space to work with on the inside. Longue runs him out of room on the outside, still side by side. Up towards the chicane they go again. Longue up the inside. Lawrence keeping his nose in round the outside. Super fighting between two stalwarts here. Round the outside, maybe Longue to stick his nose in all the way through there. Lawrence still there. Donoso looking and watching and waiting for a gap here. Does he have a gap? He stays there. Again, a little lunge from Longue. Donoso looking for the switch back on the both of them sideways from Longue. And again, this is a massively brilliant fight, and Lawrence has somehow hung on as they come into the last sector here.
An incredible fight from a young man who never says die. Incredible stuff. 4th place is where he remains, but you get the feeling now, outside of DRS, that is going to provide Longue with yet another opportunity to overtake Otis Lawrence as they make their way down through towards turn 1. Wilson Hughes managing to dispatch Donoso. Oh goodness me, we've lost Donoso. He's left the session. What has happened, Jack Canan? Longue now up into 4th. Incredible moment really on that last lap.
Oh, that's such a shame. I think Donoso's DC'd on the way down the straight, and that's so unfortunate, but Longue's got the job done on Lawrence. And I tell you what, Wilson Hughes has appeared from absolutely nowhere and is now in with a chance of a P4 finish maybe here in Spain. This would be an excellent result for Wilson Hughes if he can get this job done. But Donoso, you got a feel for him. I mean, what a race he's driven, and has the connection issues, drops down the order, and he'll probably drop out of the points. But that fight in between Longue and Lawrence has given Barry breathing space now, P3, but it has now freed up Otmir to battle Ronar with no real threat from behind now. This is going to be a grandstand because now, I can tell you folks, the ERS levels are equal now. So this is going to be fun. But Ronar has the fresher tyres. One lap, even one lap could mean a lot here. But this is Ronar versus Otmir for the win here in Spain.
Yeah, it is. And now, obviously, Otmir, who has spent or given a lot of effort to try and close up the gap between him and Thomas Ronhaar. It certainly is the case that Otmir will have to unleash absolutely everything for the final 3 laps in this Spanish Grand Prix. Sensational stuff. We're on lap 31 of 33 as Ronhaar now takes them through turns 1 and turns 2. Donoso careering down the field. Such a shame to see him bow out this way. Obviously, it's never nice to see a driver lose out, obviously off the back of a couple of technical issues, and but no less, his qualifying performance was absolutely sensational. His race performance was great up to the point where they had the issue. So big shame, but I'm sure we'll see Donoso back fighting again in his new Aston Martin colours as well. Nicolas Longuet back up with his teammate Barry Burman. Now they've got to try and make safe. Obviously the fight between him and Otis Lawrence is essentially still on, because at this point now he's brought the gap back in to within 0.4 of a second, in nearly 3.5. But enter Wilson Hughes into the fight, Jack, and he's closing in fast.
Yeah, now of course remember that he's still mathematically in that championship fight as well. Again, he needs good points here. He can get himself a good position here, move up, get closer to a couple of guys in front of him here. If he can score himself a P4, this would be a great result. But now, problem for Barry Bormand. He's now dropped into this train and Longuet is now right behind him. So again, he doesn't have the ERS. He's maybe slowed down just to let Longuet get the DRS to help him out here again. Longuet slowed up the traffic for him earlier on, but I'm keeping an eye on that, but I'm also keeping on the one in front because it's getting close. 2/10 between Ronar and Otmir.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer, Jack. We're on the penultimate lap of the race as well. We have got one more after this one now. We've also got Jake Benham moving his way through past Boulem Farah now, up into 11th place on lap 32. But 1 place out of the top 10. Benham will look to take it back. Ferrer perhaps looking to the inside as he now looks for that 10th place again. Can't find that 11th place again. Cannot find it as now they work their way into the middle sector. But now the battle is on. Ronhaar v Otmir to decide the winner of the Spanish Grand Prix. And as we said before, Jack Cannan, a battle that can have repercussions to this World Championship.
Yeah, absolutely could. Currently, Ronar has the advantage ERS-wise, so it's going to take a big effort. As Wilson, has there been a problem for Wilson Hughes? He's spun round.
Yellow flag.
And drops down into P10. He's dropped to P10, so he's got back going again, but drops down the order just a little bit now. On to the final lap then. Ronar's got 6/10 though. He's got a big gap now, but he knows he's going to have to put on a lap of his life to keep Jarno Otmir behind him now. Jarno going for his second victory. Ronar also trying to go for back-to-back victories. Of course, it's only been done once before, and it was Barry Bormand earlier this season, but can he get the job done? It might be too much to ask Jake Benham with the fastest lap. That won't win anything. He's not inside the points. I think Ronar might just have enough in the bag here to hang on against Jarno Otmir. He just has about 11% ERS advantage at the moment, and he just might be able to bring this championship to a 20-point advantage going into the next round at the halfway stage. So there's still plenty of time here, but again, Ronar has just managed this perfectly once again, as he has done before. He did it in Brazil, and he's keeping the 2-time champ behind him at arm's length, just about. It's not easy to do. He's felt the pressure so again through the whole race, but these two ended up 5 seconds clear of the 2 cars behind them, of the train behind them at the moment. But this will be a big moment in the championship. This will give Thomas Ronar over a race victory in front to put him about 20 points clear, but Otmir will stay with him nonetheless. Out through the final corner, what a performance. He led from the get-go. He's going to do it again. It's back-to-back victories. Thomas Ronar wins the Spanish Grand Prix and goes back-to-back in PSGL. Jarno Otmir finishes in P2. Barry Bormand on his return, P3, and his teammate Nicolas Longuet, P4. Otis Lawrence in the top 5 for the first time. Baina, Pookie, Tara Buchan, Max Vissel, and Wilson Hughes finishes in P10. Jake Benham could only muster P11 as the first time he's finished outside the points so far this season. But only one man did it before, and it's Thomas Ronar, back-to-back victories in PSGL.
Yeah, brilliant race win again for Thomas Ronhaar, back-to-back. after taking his very first one last time out when we went racing, now has marked a return with yet another brilliant win. Certainly it seems to me that the stop tap has come away. Ronha now taking victories and now will no doubt secure and solidify his position at the top of the championship, at least for now. Still a long way to go though. Jarno Opmeer, a great fight to get himself into second place. The Ferrari tactics, they did work to some degree, but not enough to deliver a victory. Third and fourth for Barry Burman and Nicholas Longue. Otis Lawrence, I'm going to say this now, Jack Canan, driver of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, such a brilliant drive, excuse me. And into the top 5 for the first time. He's slowly creeping up the order, isn't he? P5 today, potential podium on the cards in the future maybe, but again, such a strong performance from Otis Lawrence. But again, I mean, you can't bet against Thomas Ronha, really. Led from pole and has held on for the entire race distance, apart from that the short period where Longue took the lead off of him, sustained the pressure from everything that happened behind him, and of course the team tactics from Ferrari, and held on to take the victory. Jarno Opmeer back on the podium once again, his second podium in a row, finishes P2, and Barry Borman in P3. So as it stands at the moment, what I'm seeing the championship as now is Opmeer now moves into second in the championship. Ronha on 63 and Opmeer on 43 moves into second. Barry now third on 42, and Jake, I think, dropping down to fourth in the championship on 40 points. So, but Ronha now 20 points clear by my calculations. So he's opening this gap out. But we've seen this happen before, where gaps have opened out and then all of a sudden close back in again. But again, a shout out Iker Bena, P12 to P6, and this Van Pookie again, good points in P7. But a strong performance for Ferrari, you have to say. P3 and P4 in their first outing as a team.
Yeah, I got to give Jake Benham credit as well. P17 to P11, and that is a mighty fight back, and give him credit for that. But Thomas Ronha, your winner, folks. Jarno Opmeer second, Barry Burman in third, Nicholas Longue in fourth after trying to do the team favours for Barry Burman. Otis Lawrence, a great drive in fifth as well. Remember, started 7th place. Iker Bena from 12th to 6th, already half the deficit. Pookie 7th, Tarabuki 8th, Max Wiesel 9th, Wilson Hughes rounds out the top 10. But a superb race. And considering Spain, probably not a bad race at all. And Ronha taking yet another win. Certainly felt like after our last week's victory for Thomas Ronha, I think obviously it's uncorked the bottle. Would you not say, Jack Canan? The confidence now, he knows he can do it. He's just done it again. I mean, it's just got to be a case now. Can somebody stop him?
Yeah, it's getting that first one out of the way, and goes back to back straight away. So, but again, pole position was key around here. Longue pushed him all the way, held him up to give Barry Borman the chance as well, but still held on by the tiniest of margins out of the pit lane. Did such a good job on those cold tires, shall I say, to stay in front. So he managed the race beautifully. Opmeer again, one of the hardest guys to have behind you. Jarno Opmeer pushing for a victory and managed to just keep enough ERS in the tank to keep him at bay. But again, great performances from Jarno Opmeer. Again, he's consistently up now on those podiums. I'm sure I'd be pleased with that. But again, he's moved up to second in the championship, 20 points. Of course, points work differently in PSGL. It's 16 points for a win. So, I mean, it's going to need big performances from here on out to topple Thomas Ronha from the top.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot, and I think it's going to take a special performance as well. I mean, Ronha is obviously going to try and show what he is capable of, obviously not managing to secure the title in F1 Esports. Big chance, though, to prove that he deserves to be there by winning the PSGL PC Championship. We speak about this time and time again, Jack, how important PSGL is to the teams in the world of F1 Esports. They essentially do a lot of their talent scouting through the likes of League Racing, PSGL obviously being a peripheral figure in that exploration to find new talent. Again, we have seen what is no doubt a wonderful young talent in Otis Lawrence, and I know I alluded to it during the show. Amazing drive from him today. Of course, certainly finishing higher than where he started, which is one thing you've got to do, but at the same time then fighting with the best in the world. I mean, you could put this young man on an F1 Esports rig right now and he will deliver.
Yeah, and if you wanted proof, just have a look at that defense against Nicolas Longuet.
Oh,
I mean,
brilliant.
Keeping Nicolas Longuet at bay for a whole lap.
I could watch that time and time again, Jack.
That was fabulous from Otis Lawrence.
Yeah.
And again, it's a testament. Again, great racecraft, and left Longuet just enough room to work with. But again, you give Longuet an inch, she'll take a meter. So
you're right. I mean, that is the method you've got to take, though, isn't it? I mean, when you're fighting a guy like Nicolas Longuet, you've got to have a little bit of aggression as well. I mean, you've got to give as much as he takes. So at the same time, you've got to try and fight. It's essentially fighting fire with fire at this point. But it delivered a fantastic battle. Probably, would you say, the battle of the race at this point?
Yeah, I think so. And I think what impressed me more is that, when you're in that position, Otis Lawrence not in the championship fight, of course. Neither is Nicolas Longuet, but at the same time, he could have easily just let him go. But no, he again fighting with the best, showing what he's capable of, and finishing a well-deserved P5. You have to say, absolutely well-deserved. But what I like is what we're getting a glimpse of now is already the team chemistry at Ferrari.
Yeah.
We already had Barry Burman making the undercut, and it was immediate from Nicolas Longuet. Hold up, Ronar. That was immediately going through his head. Slowing up on the apex is not enough to cause an accident, but it was enough to frustrate Ronar that he couldn't again find a way through. You could see Ronar tried to go around the outside turn 1, couldn't make it work. And again, just doing enough to hold him up a couple of tenths, and that was enough to get him in front of Otmir, but wasn't quite enough to get him in front of Otmir, where then the favour could possibly have been repaid. But it's the last time I seen sort of team chemistry like that was Mercedes between Danny Moreno and Jarno Otmir, and that's what I'm feeling off this. Yeah,
well, we saw a similar thing as well. Benham and Otmir in F1 Esports in the final event, where of course we saw Jake Benham doing the favours for Jarno Otmir at that point as well. Without a doubt, we will see it again. But already off the bat, we're seeing that chemistry between Longuet and, of course, now his teammate Barry Burman as well. Two friends who now become teammates. A great working relationship. Stroke of genius, I think, by the Ferrari team as well. But we'll look forward to seeing how that develops, folks. But I just want to say a massive thank you to every single one of you guys at home that tuned in tonight. An incredible race tonight. You guys delivered as well in the live chat. Thank you very much for interacting. Don't forget, like I keep saying, follow the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned to PSGL, folks. We love having you here. Not forgetting as well our social media at Premier Sim GL, of course, on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Lots of clips, lots of highlights, not to mention everything that goes on our channels. Plenty for you guys to check out and see. Not forgetting our man that does the highlight reels as well. He keeps delivering time and time again. I don't know what he has for breakfast, but he absolutely delivers every time. Not forgetting as well, folks, you can check me out on Twitter too, or Instagram, or wherever. My name, of course, being George Morgan. George Morgan TV, at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I'm on all of it. And Jack, would you like to share your social?
Absolutely. So Jack_Kanan on Instagram. If you want to get me on Twitter, it's at JackCcoms with the 2 C's, folks. Okay.
2 C's.
Get it into your head.
2 C's.
Get it into your head,
it's
guys. Always
the 2 C's.
2 C's.
Don't miss the 2 C's, folks. We do have, in fact, just before we go, I think Thomas Ronha wants to have an interview. So we're going to bring him in. So, folks, we would like to welcome in our race winner from today's race at Spain, Thomas Ronha. I tell you what, you did it once, you've done it twice. Have you finally got your mojo here in PSGL, Thomas Ronha?
Yeah, I can't believe I've won that race, to be honest. That race was so intense all the way through. First of all, I want to say GG to Jan. He pushed me all the way through the last stint. Had to drive like 200% the whole race through. It was so tough, but yeah, finally somehow got my race pace sorted, and yeah, I'm trying to show it as much as possible, and yeah, just very happy to take the win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously earlier on we saw you in the mix with Longuet. There was definitely a lot of strategic play, I think, going on before we opened the first stint. Obviously, Longuet opting. There was that little look that he made the lap prior to him making the move in towards turn 1. But yet, obviously, we saw a lot of slowing down going on, obviously, to bring Barry into the fight, no doubt. Because we saw the Ferrari make a very early jump into the pit lane, which did kind of work. Barry was brought into the fight. Was there a bit of frustration on your part, Ronha, when that was being taken?
Obviously, I'm trying to keep as calm as possible when I'm in such a situation. I've had these situations before in esports as well. Japan is a good example. So yeah, I'm obviously trying to stay as calm as possible. Obviously, you can get a bit heated in the moments. But yeah, when you have a car in front of you that's only a tenth ahead of you, you can't really predict if they're gonna brake early or not. I nearly lost my wing at some point, I think, in the last sector. But I knew if I get a good exit out of the final corner, I could get a run on Nicholas and managed to do an overcut on the guys behind. So that was really good. And from there on, like I said, just fighting with Jarno, and yeah, really happy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good result. Obviously, you had to keep Jarno Watmir behind. There is no comfortable moment when you've got that man chasing after you.
Yeah.
A two-time champion, no less, not to mention a multi-time PSGL champion. I mean, looking ahead, I mean, I think heading into that final lap, you managed to certainly salvage a reasonable gap. Was it important to sort of display? It almost turned into a qualifying lap, that final run. Was it important to try and just maintain a solid pace through to the end of the race?
I think the last thing I had to do quite laps only. That's how hard I had to push the whole race through. Yeah, I tried to use my ERS on the penultimate lap to kind of pull away to Jarno. I didn't expect I believe the gap was 6 tenths, which is what I wanted. Because if you're 5 tenths behind or even less, then you're very vulnerable into turn 1. Managing to save more ERS than them, which ultimately got me the race win. So yeah, that's how I played out.
Yeah, well, now next up we've got Singapore. You are now holding on to the championship lead off the back of that victory today. What is your confidence levels heading to Marina Bay? Is that a circuit you like?
Yeah, it's a very good circuit of mine, maybe even one of my fastest. So yeah, looking forward to that one definitely.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you there as well. Congratulations on yet another win, Mr. Ronheim. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. Next up, we have Barry Burremand joining us as well in the commentary box, and Barry in his new colours as well. Welcome to the Scuderia. I'm sure the Tifosi love you, Barry.
First of all, hello to you. Yeah, a new color, and then yeah, I was really excited to using Ferrari, and yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, following up now, obviously we've had great champions at Ferrari, Brendan Lee being one of them, not to mention David Sinitsu, who would take the title in a Ferrari, but obviously he announced that he was making way from the team, joining Jean Alesi Esports. You're now taking his place along with Nicolas Longuet. Now, I know that you guys are friends historically. I get the feeling we saw a little bit of that friendship tonight. The team play was definitely on show tonight.
Yeah, and then I think fair to say, like, you know, we lost last race as well. I lost last race, and then I got disconnected in Qatar as well while leading the race. It cost me so much point, and then this race, I was so busy with like moving the house, and then this type of stuff, and then I got sick. And then I'm still sick, like so heavy. And then me and Nico just started practicing today, which wasn't really ideal, but we were like, yeah, let's just have some fun. And then we did some, yeah, as you can see, like I would say like the setup wasn't really ideal, but it is what it is. And then, yeah, as I said, like this third place, maybe it's just not mine. I would say Nico deserved it maybe more because, yeah, it was a team play. And yeah, he probably deserved to be here more than me after that really good quali lap.
Well, I mean, despite your lack of preparation, obviously, it sounds like that what Ferrari are developing here is essentially a good working relationship between two great drivers. I mean, what are your thoughts now? New team, obviously Ferrari have history. They've won championships. Obviously, Tanitsa taking that championship back in 2019. I mean, what is the mentality now heading through to 2023? Obviously, we're still yet to have the new game yet. That will come in time, I'm sure. But from the initial, from what you've seen, where do you see the direction with the Ferrari team going forward?
Yeah, I'm actually so excited for the new year. You know, like being teammate with, like, as you said, I think yeah, there was only like 2 hot lapper, I think, in the whole F1 esport, and there was like me and Nico, and then yeah, being teammate with him, and he's a really good friend of mine, and then we have a really good relationship, and I think we can work together, and also representing team like Ferrari. It's just really big, you know. It's just an honor, and yeah, the vibe looking really good, and then but we had so much work to do for this past few weeks, I would say. I don't know, especially me as well with so many stuff. But yeah, I think it's just getting done now, and then yeah, that's it. Like hopefully I will just practice more for the next few races, and then yeah.
So the plan is full on to recover the form from the start of the season?
Yes. Finally, I can practice perfectly. Yeah.
Well, you know you can win, right? 2 races at the start of the season. That's not a bad place to start.
Yeah.
You know you can win races.
Yeah, George, like, you know, like sometimes, like, you know, in a season, because we are now in off season, you know, like because F1 Esport finished, and then, you know, in the off season you need like so many stuff to do with your life, some things that is not maybe your control, and then you have to change it. Sometimes it's just really affecting, like you cannot really practice, you cannot really put your time on the thing you want, but then sometimes you just have to pass these things out, and then after that you can literally just relax and then do your stuff and then sweat it, and then yeah, that's it. Because, you know, like I know like without really good preparation you cannot like win the race, you know. So yeah, I would say that's why, because our setup, like we probably me, I don't know about Nico perfectly, but probably me, I was just lacking the pace in the race. But in quali, I was quite fast in the quali, just missed the last 2 corner. But yeah, you know, like in the race the pace wasn't really there. But yeah, GG to Jarno on the win, I think, right?
Oh no, it was Ronho who got the win, but you know, he was close. You said he came second.
GG to
but yeah, no, it was a fantastic race, and you know, such a mature head on young shoulders. I always say that about you, Barry. Obviously, looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season has in store for you, and we'll look forward to seeing you back. You are back at Singapore, am I right?
Yeah, I will be there.
Brilliant. Look forward to seeing you there. Enjoy yourself. Congratulations on the big result.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations on the Ferrari move as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, George. Have a great night.
You too. You too. And that is Barry Burremand, everybody. And 2 great interviews, I think. Obviously, 2 young men that are looking to polarize their way to the top. Obviously, Ron Ha looking to go one better than what he did last season in F1 Esports, and you wouldn't put it past him to achieve it as well. Barry Burremand also, who has certainly been a seasoned competitor at the top end of the PC championships over the years. Obviously, we'll see some more from him. But folks, as we said before, great to have you guys on board. As I said, make sure you check out those channels as well. Check out the socials too. We'll see you next time when we hit and put pedal to the metal at Marina Bay. It will be my last race this season as commentator at Marina Bay. I'm heading off to do F1 Esports challenges for the rest of the calendar, but I will be back. I will be back, I promise. I'll see you at Marina Bay, folks.
I'm locking the door.
You're locking the door? Damn you, Jack Canan.
Back in, folks.
You are letting me in. You are letting me in. But no, I tell you what, we'll make the...
But you've got me for the rest of the season,
You've got
folks.
Canan. You've got the Canan, I tell you what. But we'll be back together very, very soon. We'll make Marina Bay a classic. How about that, Jack?
Just on that, George, before we go, I've just been informed there could be a late track change next week, so stay tuned.
Oh... Shocking. Incredible.
We don't want 20 absences again, do we?
No, that's true. I always thought people like Marina Bay. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But we'll wait and see.
We've just had a quick look in the PSGL Discord that they're either changing Singapore to potentially Silverstone or Spa. So we might have a different race next week.
Goodness me. Well, there we go, folks. Stay tuned. Now you have to stay tuned to the socials to find out where we're going next week. We'll see you then anyway. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.
Yeah, well, there's no. I can
What the hell's it?
already see in the. I can already see in the Discord. Like we're not having Singapore next week. No way.
No, I think it's between Spa and Silverstone.
Drivers hate it. Yeah, the drivers hate it. So it's like, in fairness, I can understand the decision. And no, but they wouldn't show up for Singapore.
I always thought the drivers liked Singapore. They always used to say
No,
Singapore.
they don't.
That is bizarre. It always used to be one of the main ones on the calendar. Like, lots of people used to love it. Like, used to talk to, and I don't understand it because I personally don't like street circuits. So Singapore and me don't really see eye to eye. But I mean, that is